Chapter 88. Her heart skipping a beat, she blushed and reached out to slap his hand away. She quickly said, "No. No need. I can go by myself. Let go of me. Don't be shy. I've seen every part of your body." As he spoke, he carried her off the bed. She was startled and asked blankly, "What? What are you doing?" It was that same expression again. It was like a frightened deer. Li Xiqing's heart softened slightly. His expression was still cold as he said seriously, "What are you afraid of? I won't do anything to you." Su Qianxi blushed even more. Lowering her head, she stammered, "You." Li Xiqing felt a bit helpless. In his dark eyes, there were stars twinkling. He seemed to be in a good mood. "Didn't you say you wanted to go to the bathroom?" Then he carried Su Qianxi to the bathroom. Su Qianxi was very shocked. She did not expect that he would take her to the bathroom, but it was so embarrassing. Ouch! At the door of the bathroom, he did not intend to stop. Su Qianxi quickly stopped him. "Wait, you can put me down. I can still go to the bathroom. You can go first, okay?" He did not insist. Su Qianxi blushed and walked into the bathroom, looking at him for the last time. However, she saw that there seemed to be a faint smile on his face. He smiled. What the hell, did she see a ghost? A person like Li Xiqing could smile. However, it was just a glimpse. When Su Qianxi looked at him again, the smile in his eyes had disappeared, as if it had never been there. Seeing that she was still looking at him, he arched an eyebrow and asked, "Do you need help?" Su Qianxi felt a buzz and blushed. She quickly said, "No." The toilet door was slammed shut and locked in one smooth motion. Li Xiqing curled his lips and felt relaxed. He turned around and walked out. A few minutes later, Su Qianxi walked out holding the wall, not daring to look at him. "Hey, Qian, why are you up?" A surprised voice came, bright and cheerful. Turning around, he saw Louis Han. "The doctor said that you need to rest and lie down properly." Putting down the flowers and fruit in his hand, Louis Han came up to help her to the bed with a look of disapproval. Seeing him, she was a bit surprised and subconsciously looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing's expression was still cold and calm. The moment Louis Han came in, his eyebrows slightly frowned, and his eyes fell on Su Qianxi. In an instant, their eyes met. Su Qianxi's eyes were filled with anxiety. "Ha! I understand now." Putting away his computer, he said, "I still have something to do in the company. I'll leave it to you." Hearing that, Louis Han looked disgusted. "Hey, how can you squeeze people like this? This is your wife." "But, I love you." Li Xiqing's eyes became cold. Without a word, he turned and walked out the door without a moment's hesitation. Louis Han felt strange. Turning around, he found that Su Qianxi also looked regretful and unhappy. "What's wrong? Did I come at the wrong time?" Chapter 89. Su Qianxi heard Louis Han's voice and shook her head. "Why are you here? Don't you feel ashamed? You scared me to death yesterday, you know. You suddenly called me and made such a big commotion. When I called the police and took you to the martial arts club, you had already been carried out by Li Xiqing, covered in blood." However, he immediately shut his mouth with a regretful look on his face. Su Qianxi felt a little funny. "I already know. Don't hide it from me." Louis Han was dazed and found her eyes were red and a little swollen. He said angrily, "How could you mess with such people? Those guys are not good people at first glance. And they are actually drug traffickers and smugglers. The worst thing is that one person escaped." Fortunately, someone found him at the seaside. It is said that he was trying to smuggle a huge sum of money and was bitten by a shark. Half of his leg is gone. It's so terrible. Dead? Not yet. He is barely alive, but this kind of scum should be treated like this. Let him live a life worse than death. Leaving his wife and children to smuggle in the middle of the night, he deserves it. What about the others? How can they be given a light sentence for smuggling and drug trafficking? It is estimated that they will be sentenced to at least 10 years. How could it be? Those people were usually fooling around in the martial arts club. How could they secretly do this kind of thing? Don't judge a book by its cover. However, Su Qianxi's intuition might have something to do with Li Xiqing. Her intuition was usually more accurate. Maybe it was really him. If it was 5 years later, Li Xiqing would definitely have such strength, but now? She was not sure. This man's background was too deep. But if it was really him, what was the reason for him to do this? Su Qianxi frowned and did not think much about it. She saw a red shadow at the door of the ward. Lily. Su Qianxi's voice was a bit surprised. She had a good impression of you, Lily. You Lily walked in with a sweet smile. However, when she walked further in and saw Louis Han, the smile on her face suddenly froze. Louis Han also turned his head and looked at her, slightly surprised. Hey, isn't this our second campus belle, the beauty you Lily? The so-called second did not mean the first. Hearing Louis Han's sarcasm, Yu Lily's eyes narrowed and her hand holding the gift slightly tightened. It's him, but soon, Yu Lily's eyes widened, and she hurriedly walked toward him, retorting in a shrill voice, Isn't this our great scholar Lu? I heard that you started your own business. Have you gone bankrupt? Louis Han said, Damn, why are you looking forward to this kind of thing? Can't you say something nice? No. Putting the tonics on the table at the head of Su Qianxi's bed, Yu Lily glanced at Su Qianxi's face and said, Not bad. I thought you were going to die, so I came here to see you make a fool of yourself. Yu Qianxi Yu Changli said, Yiqian, I said, you are so. You think you can't say it. You. Qian said. Said you. You. Qi. You Chio. You. T. Lily you said, you. You not, you. You Lily was arrogant, and Louis Han was a famous scholar. A few years ago, it was not a secret that she liked Louis Han. Chapter 90. Although she sounded disgusted, Su Qianxi clearly saw the nervousness on Yu Lily's face. She seemed to like Louis Han. However, what about O Ming? Su Qianxi suddenly remembered the legend of Yu Lily's real death in her previous lifetime. She was strangled to death by O Ming in bed, and the reason was unknown. But there were always rumors that Yu Lily had an affair and used O Ming's money to support that man. And in her previous lifetime, Louis Han also became an important figure in Kingstown from nothing. Without a strong financial background, Louis Han could not have developed so fast. Combined with their conversation just now, could it be? Su Qianxi was shocked by her own thoughts. When she looked at Yu Lily and Louis Han, her gaze was a little different. If it was really because of this, it was too terrible. Yu Lily noticed Su Qianxi's slightly strange look, and her heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help being nervous. Could it be that she had seen through something? Suppressing the nervousness in her heart, Yu Lily turned to sit on Su Qianxi's bed and began to gossip with her. From time to time, Louis Han would also interject a few words, but he was always blocked by Yu Lily. They were really a quarrelsome couple. However, Su Qianxi felt more and more uneasy. After thinking about it, she asked Louis Han to leave first and let Yu Lily stay. After Louis Han left, Yu Lily was obviously a lot more relaxed and curiously turned her head. You have something to say to me. Do you know what is the most unbearable thing for a man? Ha! Yu Lily obviously did not understand what she meant. Thinking about another man for your own woman. Hearing that, Yu Lily's face was slightly pale. What did O Ming say to you? No, I have never seen O Ming, but I can see that your feelings for Louis Han have not changed. Yu Lily's face was even paler. Was she so obvious? Obviously, she had tried so hard to hide it. How could she see it? Su Qianxi was not very sure, but seeing Li Xiqing's face, her thoughts were confirmed. You can feel how O Ming treats you. He is Li Xiqing's brother, so his temper must be very bad. Don't get on his bad side. When he goes crazy, I'm afraid you can't handle it. For example, repeating the mistakes of his previous life. Yu Lily didn't know how much of a shock her words had caused her. As an outsider, Su Qianxi actually saw it more clearly than him. However, since she followed Louis Han, she knew that she was no longer qualified to think more. She knew. She knew everything. But she couldn't forget Louis Han. The reason why she agreed to attend the class reunion was that she wanted to see him. She only wanted to see him once, that was all. Yu Lily's heart ached, and her eyes reddened. Su Qianxi felt some sympathy, but it was better to wake her up now than to let her do stupid things in the future and lose her life in vain. Thank you, Qianxi. I got it. O Ming treats me very well. I'm not that stupid to throw away such a golden coattail. Chapter 91. The two women in the room were startled and turned their heads to look. O Ming was wearing a tight-fitting casual suit, which made him look reserved and low-key. His excessively fair face looked a little sinister. He was a very dazzling man, but at the same time, very dangerous. Unlike Li Xiqing's coldness, O Ming seemed to be smiling, but he clearly showed his emotions. He was unhappy. When Yu Lily saw him, her face was obviously a little unnatural. She grabbed her hands and seemed a little nervous. Just now, how much did he hear? Was it just a golden thigh? Or more? O Ming walked into the ward and glanced at Yu Lily unintentionally. He naturally walked over and put his arm around her shoulder. Are you saying bad things about me? O Ming lowered his head and whispered in Yu Lily's ear. His voice was very low, with a hint of danger. Yu Lily's body was slightly stiff, and then she shook her head again and again. Then what are you nervous about? I didn't, baby, you are really not good at lying. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat, and she was even more confused about him. How much did he hear? Su Qianxi's heart was also beating like a drum. She tried to divert his attention and said, Are you O Ming? O Ming looked away from Yu Lily and looked at Su Qianxi. The evil smile on his face disappeared, and he cast a curious look at Su Qianxi. You still remember me? When you got married, I just went through the motions. Don't tell me you can't forget me. Su Qianxi was stunned. She probably didn't expect O Ming to be so indecent. Suddenly, O Ming leaned slightly closer and asked, I heard that you want to divorce that guy. Su Qianxi was even more stunned. How did this guy know? Seeing her expression, O Ming smiled. It seems that I guessed right. Well, good. Pfft. Su Qianxi laughed. What happened to being a brother and a good friend? Why could this guy still say such sarcastic words when Li Xiqing was divorced? However, when O Ming's voice fell, an unknown object flew over his head. O Ming was stunned. He turned his head angrily and yelled, Who? When he turned around, he saw a face that was as calm as a 10,000-year-old iceberg. When O Ming saw Li Xiqing, the anger on his face immediately disappeared. Su Qianxi noticed that his aura had weakened. "It's you." Li Xiqing ignored him and walked in with the nutritious food in his hand. Seeing the smile on Su Qianxi's face, he gazed at her and said in a deep voice, "You look much better." Noticing his deep gaze, the smile on Su Qianxi's face faded, and she suddenly felt a bit scared. This man seems to be unhappy. Was it because of the divorce? O Ming looked down and saw the logo on the lunchbox in his hand. He crossed his arms and teased, "I don't know who was the one who denied it the night before yesterday, but now you actually went so far to buy food. Isn't this a slap in the face? Scram. You're angry because you've been stepped on. I got the Su family village's land." The smile on O Ming's face immediately disappeared. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? You don't want to?" "Yes. Scram. Scram. Scram right now." With that, he pulled Yu Lily out of the ward. It was the first time that Yu Lily had seen such a timid O Ming. She couldn't help but look at Li Xiqing, but she was caught off guard. Instantly, she felt cold. Chapter 92. After getting rid of the uninvited guest, Li Xiqing took out all the lunch boxes. He pushed them to Su Qianxi and said, "Let's eat." Su Qianxi glanced at the dishes in front of her. They were all bland soups. She could tell from the packaging that they were not cheap, but wolfberry, red dates, ginseng, and angelica were all very nutritious. However, all the flavors were mixed together, making Su Qianxi frown. "You don't like it?" Su Qianxi was speechless. "Who would like to eat this?" Seeing her unbearable expression, Li Xiqing continued, "Even if you don't like it, you have to eat it. Grandpa told you to." "Grandpa?" "Yes," Li Xiqing responded coldly. "Where is Grandpa?" Captain Li loved her very much. How could he not come when she was in such a big trouble? "Grandpa went to Province G a few days ago. He just called me and told me to come back tomorrow." No wonder. She knew it was impossible for this guy to buy these things for her. If it was Grandpa's order, then it was a different story. "Oh." Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful and responded. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. So awkward, although they were husband and wife, they were not that close. She felt more comfortable with Lui Han than with Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing also noticed her awkwardness and said again, "Let's eat." "Okay, I know. Just leave it." Su Qianxi leaned against the bed. Sensing Li Xiqing's cold gaze, she felt that what she said was inappropriate, so she added, "I will eat. Don't you have something to do at the company? You can go back first." Li Xiqing glanced at the light food on the table and slightly lowered his hand. He said firmly, "Grandpa said that I should watch you finish eating with my own eyes." Then just tell Grandpa that I've finished eating. I'll eat later." Li Xiqing's eyes became darker and he said quietly, "Do you think I am easy to fool, or do you think Grandpa is easy to fool?" What did he mean? Was he really going to watch her finish eating? Well, it was awful. She did not want to eat it. She lost her appetite when she smelled it. Su Qianxi felt wronged. "Just cooperate with me and tell Grandpa that I have finished eating, Mr. Li, Mr. Li." Mr. Li again. Such a distant form of address seemed to be separated by layers of mountains, distant to the point of being untouchable. Li Xiqing was not very happy. Did this woman have to distance herself from him? "You didn't call me that before." Didn't she call him that before? Didn't she call him Mr. Li before? Besides, he never hated it when she called his name, did he? Su Qianxi felt that this man was more and more mysterious. She could not figure out what he was thinking at all. A man's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Su Qianxi thought to herself. Looking up, she timidly asked, "Then, what should I call you?" With a cold face, Li Xiqing's expression did not change, but his eyes became colder. He said coldly, "Whatever. Let's eat." With a bitter face, she said, "Grandpa doesn't know anyway. Just leave it here. I will eat later. I have no appetite now." Chapter 93. Glancing at her, Li Xiqing picked up a small bowl with his slender fingers, slowly scooped some soup, and handed it to her. Su Qianxi's biggest fear in her life was taking medicine. Whether it was Chinese medicine or Western medicine, she was in great pain. Looking at the light herbal diet, he immediately shook his head. "You should go. Didn't you say you have something important to do? Eat." Su Qianxi forced herself to take a sip and suddenly found it was not that bad. Looking up at Li Xiqing, she found that he was staring at her with a deep look. Her heart skipping a beat, she quickly grabbed the bowl and said, "I'll drink it myself." "You should go." "You want me to go?" "Yes." Su Qianxi nodded without hesitation. If he did not go, how could she throw away the food? However, seeing his deep gaze, she immediately changed her mind. "You are so busy at the company, and you still have to come to see me. You must be too busy. I'm just being considerate." Oh, Li Xiqing had a "I see" look on his face. "When you finish, I will go." "No way. I can't finish it. There's too much here. It will take a long time to finish." "It's okay. Take your time. You're so busy. You should go first. You don't want to eat." "Well." Su Qianxi was seen through and blushed. "It's terrible. Herbal diet is good for the body. Then go somewhere else. What do you want to eat? What are you going to buy?" "I'll order takeout." Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful. She thought he was going to buy food for her. "Forget it. That will take a long time. I'll just eat." Su Qianxi looked at the food, frowned, and drank a big bowl of soup. After picking some dishes, there was still 3/4 of the food left. "Are you full?" "No. I can't eat anymore." Su Qianxi blinked pitifully, looking like a wife who had been abused. "Qianqian, look what I brought for you." Louis Han's voice came in, but he soon paused. "Hey, Mr. Li is here too." Louis Han said, just in time. "Let's eat together. I made a lot of food that Qianqian likes." "Qianqian. How affectionate." Moreover, even he didn't know what his wife liked to eat, so how could this pretty boy know so well? Louis Han opened the lid, and Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. Was that a homemade lunchbox? Su Qianxi's eyes immediately lit up. Smelling the air, she almost drooled. "Shredded chicken, sweet and sour pork ribs, your nose is so sensitive." Louis Han came over and saw that she had only eaten a little. He looked sympathetic. No wonder, Li Xiqing looked at the plates he took out. There were some home-cooked dishes on them. Although they were simple, they looked and smelled good. "It smells so good." Chef Lu's culinary skills are getting better and better. "That's right. Do you think I've always been like you?" It was just a joke, but it sounded different to Li Xiqing's ears. They were flirting in front of him. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. The volcano in his heart was on the verge of erupting. Thinking of the divorce agreement he had signed, he was even more furious, but it was stuck in his heart. He had signed the agreement and decided to let them be, hadn't he? Chapter 94. Not qualified. Louis Han's previous understanding of Li Xiqing was only based on rumors. Now feeling the obvious coldness around him, he couldn't help but be a bit surprised. He handed Li Xiqing a bowl and chopsticks. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's eat together. Seeing the bright smile on his face, Li Xiqing suddenly felt suffocated. Glancing at him, he stood up and walked toward the door of the ward. No response was Li Xiqing's unique response. Lu Yihan was secretly shocked. Your husband's temper is a bit strange. Su Qianxi smiled and did not answer. She quickly changed the topic. However, what neither of them noticed was that there was a slim shadow at the door, holding up a phone and taking a picture of the meeting. Silently, after staying in the hospital for 2 days, Su Qianxi was discharged. For the convenience of taking care of her, Captain Li asked Su Qianxi to live in the old house. In less than 2 days, the elders of the Li family came one after another. All of them came to take a look and brought all kinds of gifts, which piled up into a small mountain. At the same time, she also heard all kinds of condolences. But at the same time, she also felt the coldness of the world. In her previous lifetime, when she had a miscarriage, no one cared at all. There were even a lot of people on Tang Menjing's side, scolding her with sarcasm and contempt. Now, it was still the same group of people, but their faces had changed a lot. For half a month, Su Qianxi had been staying in the old house, occasionally talking to Mrs. Li, playing cards, and sometimes playing chess with Grandpa. However, in this half a month, Li Xiqing did not show up even once. When Grandpa called to question him, he said, busy with work. Such a perfect excuse, Grandpa could not refute, only warning him to come back to see Su Qianxi more often. Su Qianxi felt a bit regretful. The hope that had been revived a few days ago gradually brightened. After the pregnancy, Su Qianxi asked to move back to the house in the city. However, after returning to the house, Li Xiqing was still nowhere to be seen, which made Su Qianxi feel a bit frustrated. It started again, exactly the same as in her previous lifetime. Busy. He always had work to do. However, this was Li Xiqing, wasn't it? She thought too much and thought too highly of herself. He rested at home for 2 more days, and on the 3rd day, he received a call from Lin Wanting. He glanced at the date. August 8th, the day of the class reunion. Hello. Qianxi. Yes. Great, I got in touch with you. I heard that you haven't been feeling well recently. Are you feeling better now? TSK, how hypocritical. Lin Wanting was famous for being narrow-minded. Last time, she and Yu Lily made her look like that. How could Lin Wanting talk to her like that? If it was the old Su Qianxi, she would have believed it, but now, yes. There's a class reunion tonight. Where are you? Why don't you come out and have some tea with us? If you have something to say, just say it. On the other side of the phone, Lin Wanting gritted her teeth in anger. How dare Su Qianxi talk to her like that? But he had to endure it. Chapter 95. 1 million. How dare she? Su Qianxi sneered over the phone, are you crazy for money? Even if she had that much money, she would not give it to her so easily. Lin Wanting had expected that. Hesitating, she said, I know you have changed your mind about me because of Yu Lily, but I still want to tell you that I am still the old Lin Wanting. I really cherish you as a friend. Why don't we go back to the way we used to be? Like before. Being played around like a fool. Su Qianxi chuckled and shook her head, not saying anything. I saw through Lu Ainan's plan. She wanted to set you up with her cousin tonight. Oh, and then? Su Qianxi did not show much emotion and replied. Hearing such a casual answer, Lin Wanting was even more unwilling. She asked, I know their whole plan. I sneaked into Lu Ainan's room and saw it, along with the pictures. Is it not worth 1 million for this information? Of course, it was worth it. If Su Qianxi had known what their plan was, she would have given her 10 million for the information, not to mention 1 million. But now, she was someone who had been reborn. She already knew what would happen tonight. There was no need for her to spend this money. The most important thing is that she does not want to give Lin Wanting any benefits. Su Qianxi, believe me. You will definitely be glad that you knew about such a terrible plan in advance, while you still have a chance to turn back. But I do not believe you. Lin Wanting was dazed. Su Qianxi, why should I believe you? You are such good friends with Lu Ainan. Who knows if you are working with her to trick me? It turned out that she was. In her previous lifetime, she had been ruined by Lin Wanting and Lu Ainan. In this lifetime, how could she trust Su Qianxi again? Hearing that, Lin Wanting panicked. Really? If you don't believe me, you will regret it. Okay. Su Qianxi arched an eyebrow and did not say anything else, hanging up. Since the incident at the martial arts school, Kingstown No. 1 Martial Arts School had been closed for drug possession and illegal transactions. Now it was summer vacation, and she had nowhere to go. She turned on the TV and began to watch. As he watched, he saw the International Art Channel. On the TV, a man who looked to be in his 30s or 40s was sitting in front of a piano, engrossed in playing. His exquisite eyebrows looked tranquil and enigmatic. Song Yifan. The only Chinese member of the International Piano Association. He was also one of her few idols. It was said that after Song Yifan's girlfriend died young, he never married. In her previous lifetime, she had the honor of hearing him play live and fell in love with the art of piano. 5 years had passed since he started studying. Seeing Song Yifan again, she felt her hands itch. In fact, Li Xiqing had a piano, which was always placed in the backyard of the villa. He would play it when he was in a good mood, but most of the time, it was idle. Walking to the backyard, Su Qianxi immediately saw a canopy made of wisteria. Underneath it was a white grand piano, placed elegantly. Li Xiqing looked down through the floor-to-ceiling window of the study and saw a white figure slowly walking toward the piano under the dense vines. The morning sun shone on the figure, as if the small figure was coated with a layer of gold. Ethereal and soft. Chapter 96. The slender and petite white figure was like a fairy among the flowers, naturally blending into the scene, as if it was made by nature. A trace of gentleness appeared in his cold, cheetah-like eyes when he saw such a picturesque scene. For a moment, he couldn't move his eyes away. Beautiful. He had never realized that this woman standing in front of the piano was so perfect. She was like a natural pianist, so harmonious. This woman really didn't know how to give him new surprises at all times. She did not realize that her movements had been seen. Walking to the piano chair, she sat down and carefully opened the dustless piano cover. The bright black and white keys shone with a dazzling and enchanting brilliance. So beautiful. This grand piano was bought by Li Xiqing at a high price from an auction. It was said to be the last piece of work of a retired master. It was very valuable and valuable. In her previous lifetime, she had always coveted this piano and wanted to touch it. However, she was afraid that Li Xiqing would hate her more and scold her. After all, even when Tang Menjing wanted to touch it, he stopped her and pulled her hand back. Not to mention her. However, Li Xiqing was at work now, wasn't he? He was not there, was he? She just secretly gave it a try. His long fingers fell on the keys, and the crisp music jumped out, making Su Qianxi feel like her whole body was melting. Great sound quality. It was better than all the pianos she had played in her 2 lifetimes combined. Li Xiqing was so wasteful to leave such a good piano here to feed the dust. Feeling sorry, her long fingers moved involuntarily. Wherever her fingers touched, the beautiful notes sounded. It was Beethoven's famous song Die Welt that everyone was familiar with, Die Welt. When Li Xiqing walked over, he heard the familiar music. The main theme was Die Welt, but the music began to change. Gradually, the music became heavier. Li Xiqing thought she had played the wrong note, and his face darkened. He was a bit annoyed. Such a good piano was ruined like this. Just as he was about to step forward, he realized that he had made a huge mistake before he could even reach her back. The music gradually became sorrowful and mellow, carrying traces of sorrow, resentment, sorrow, and pain. Hearing the music, Li Xiqing couldn't help but stop and listen to the art from his wife. Su Qianxi did not notice that someone was behind her. Staring at the keys, she skillfully played the song she had written for herself. Back then, she was framed by Tang Menjing to have a miscarriage and then disfigured. However, Captain Li always believed in her and insisted that she should not divorce Li Xiqing. However, everyone in the Li family was looking at her with disdain. No one believed her. Desperate and sad, she composed a song and named it Elegy. However, apart from Captain Li, no one had ever heard of it. No one had ever understood it. Although Su Qianxi's eyes were fixed on the keys, her mind had drifted away. But the song was so skillful that there was not a single wrong step. This was her own song, sad, sad Su Qianxi. It was so fitting, wasn't it? Listening to the music, Li Xiqing's calm eyes gradually became deeper and colder. A strange song, he had never heard of it. Sorrow, despair, and a deep sense of longing. What did the composer experience to be able to write such a sorrowful song? For some reason, Li Xiqing did not go forward but stood quietly behind her. Under the layers of lush wisteria, next to the beautiful white piano. Chapter 97. The crisp ringtone of the cell phone pulled Su Qianxi back from her own world. Suddenly, she found that she did not know when she started to cry. The ringtone continued. Su Qianxi turned her head and was caught off guard by a pair of dark eyes. It was still cold, but at this moment, there was something inexplicable. He seemed to be thinking and interested. His black eyes were sparkling, dazzling Su Qianxi's eyes and making her heart beat faster. Panicking, he averted his gaze and looked down. The sunlight shone on that tall and straight figure, drawing out a long shadow. That shadow just happened to cover her body, completely covering her slightly slender body. However, when did he come? She did not notice it at all. Li Xiqing moved his eyes away from her face and looked at her hands that were still on the piano keys. His eyes were unreadable. Su Qianxi quickly stood up, wiped the tears on her face, and took a step forward. I thought you were not here, so I came to try it secretly. However, when the words were on the tip of her tongue, she immediately swallowed them back. Her slim fingers stirred the white dress on her body nervously. Her heart was pounding, and she looked down nervously. When did you learn to play the piano? Li Xiqing finally spoke, his voice low. This was the first time he had talked to her since she was discharged from the hospital. Her heart beating even faster, she timidly looked up at his face. Calm and indifferent. There was not much change in his expression. Even his eyes were still as deep as before. She could not see through him. She really could not. This man was too deep, too deep. That song. Su Qianxi was still thinking about how to explain that she could play the piano and did not realize that he suddenly changed the topic. She was a bit confused. He looked at her face, turned off the phone, and then sat down on the piano chair. Not bad. Dazed, her face quickly became red. Su Qianxi felt that she was almost flying. He praised her. He actually praised her. He did not seem to notice her blush. His eyes fell on the black and white keys in front of him, and his slender fingertips fell and danced. The melodious notes rang, and the familiar melody made Su Qianxi dazed. He actually bounced out. She had only played it once, but this man could actually listen to it and play it again. Isn't this a little too heaven-defying? Fortunately, it was only a short while before he stopped and turned his head to look at her. Name? A sorrowful farewell. Sadness means sorrow, farewell means farewell. I thought it was Su Qianxi's. Hearing that, her heart raced. When she was about to speak, his phone rang again. From Su Qianxi's angle, she happened to catch a glimpse of those three familiar words. Tang Menjing. Her heart, which had been racing wildly, gradually slowed down. Her fingers tightened around her dress. Yes, Tang Menjing. There was always Tang Menjing between them. Chapter 98. Li Xiqing quickly hung up. Turning around, he saw Su Qianxi's completely different expression, and his eyes darkened. Sir, madam, breakfast is ready, Nanny Rong called from afar. Li Xiqing turned around and said, I will not be back for dinner tonight. Nanny Rong blinked and realized that he might be talking to her, so she quickly nodded. However, this was the first time that Li Xiqing had told her that he would not be coming back for dinner. It should not be for her to hear, but for madam to hear, right? Seeing Li Xiqing's face, Nanny Rong was even more certain. However, Su Qianxi did not know that. She was about to leave the backyard, thinking about what was going to happen that night. Tang Menjing was Li Xiqing's secretary. She had taken him to the royal hotel and arranged for Lu Ainan to humiliate and slander her, making her the target of everyone. However, in this lifetime, Lu Ainan had already said those words and even been sent to the police station. Therefore, it was very likely that they would change their plans at this party. Su Qianxi suddenly realized that it was not a good decision to turn down Lin Wanting. While she was thinking, Su Qianxi had already walked past Li Xiqing. What she did not notice was that the moment she walked past him, the temperature around the man suddenly dropped. This woman was getting bolder and bolder. She dared to ignore him. Could it be that she couldn't tell that he was talking to her? Even Nanny Rong could see that. However, she did not care at all and did not even respond. Su Qianxi. Li Xiqing could not stand it anymore and called out. Su Qianxi looked back, confused. What? Seeing her pretty and confused face, Li Xiqing was even more furious. Did she not know what she had done wrong? Doesn't she know what an unforgivable crime she has committed? How dare she ignore him? Ignoring him. What? What's wrong? Li Xiqing was furious. Giving her a deep look, he walked away. Su Qianxi was even more confused. What's wrong? This man is so baffling. Back in the living room, Su Qianxi took out her cell phone and called Lin Wanting back. However, it was not in the service area. If they fought again, the result would be the same. It was obvious that this fellow had blacklisted her. Su Qianxi suddenly felt stupid. How could she not think of this? Lu Ainan and Tang Menjing would definitely have new tricks up their sleeves. What should she do then? Royal Hotel, 7 p.m. In the banquet hall on the top floor, the exquisite glass lamps refracted a mesmerizing light, sprinkling on the exquisite dishes and the people coming and going. Many men and women had already arrived at the scene, laughing and chatting with each other. Fu Lingbing was chatting with a high school classmate that he hadn't seen for a long time. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of a beautiful blue figure from the corner of his eye, and his eyes immediately lit up. At the door, Lu Ainan was standing proudly. Lu Anan was enjoying the attention from the people around her. She walked inside elegantly. So beautiful. Is this Lu Anan? Women really change 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. You're really different from before. Who said it wasn't? This outfit would cost at least a few $100,000. Chapter 99. Hey, who is the one behind her? Why does she look like an auntie? Haha, how can you be so mean? Even if it is the truth, don't say it out loud. Everyone's eyes fell on the person behind Lu Anan. Her short hair was fixed into a handsome hairstyle with a little gel. However, the big round face looked tender and tender, which did not match the hairstyle at all. What she was wearing was obviously something special. The black dress was dotted with diamonds, and the top was a delicate lace tube top. However, her skin was not fair, so the black dress made her look like a nouveau riche from the countryside. Rustic. Rustic. Very rustic. Everyone sneered and looked at the woman with eyes full of contempt and sympathy. Isn't that Lynn wanting? I remember she used to be pretty, but now she has changed so much. Ha ha ha. Isn't that right? A girl changes 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. We can't even recognize her. They are both women, but Lu Anan is getting more and more elegant and beautiful. How come Lin wanting? All kinds of discussions were heard by the two people at the door. Lin wanting was so angry that her eyes were red. She pinched her hands tightly. She wanted to pinch the dress, but the dress was too expensive. If she broke it, she would not be able to sell it for much money. Lu Anan smiled brightly, turned around and looked at Lin Wanting. Wanting, what are you waiting for? Let's go in together. The so-called reunion was just a small club for people to compare themselves with each other. The purpose of the reunion was to see who was worse off than them and who was uglier than them, so they could gain a sense of achievement and satisfaction. Lu Anan naturally captured everyone's attention. The light blue dress she was wearing made her look even more beautiful. Fu Lingbing combed his hair, picked up a glass of champagne, and walked toward Lu Anan. However, before he got close, a few boys who used to know him beat him to it. Anan, it has been a while. Yes, you are getting prettier. Upon seeing them, Fu Lingbing, who was about to step forward, stopped in his tracks. He was furious. Such a beautiful woman, and he actually broke up with her because of that trivial matter. The losses outweighed the gains. Just as he was feeling vexed, he suddenly heard exclamations from his surroundings. Fu Lingbing looked at the door, and there was an obvious surprise in his eyes. The fiery red off-shoulder gown perfectly accentuated her snow-white skin. Her long wavy curls were draped over her shoulders, and she had a slight smile on her exquisite face. Feeling the breathtaking expression on her face, she smiled in satisfaction and spoke first. Long time no see. Do you still remember me? I remember. One of the boys standing in front of Lu Anan shouted, but he soon attracted everyone's attention. He blushed in embarrassment and lowered his head. Fu Lingbing was disappointed that he could not get to Lu Anan's side, but now he felt much better. Holding his glass, he walked over to Yu Lily. Lu Anan was infuriated by what she saw. She had wanted to piss Fu Lingbing off so that he would ask to reconcile with her, but Yu Lily had appeared out of nowhere. She was so hateful. Chapter 100. Holding a glass of champagne, Fu Lingbing walked to Yu Lily and said with a smile that he thought was charming, "Yu Lily, right?" Yu Lily saw Fu Lingbing's flirtatious face, raised her eyebrows and looked at Lu Anan provocatively. Next to Lu Anan, a male classmate handed her a piece of cake. Lu Anan accidentally turned her head and bumped into the cake. She immediately became angry. What are you doing? Are you blind? The smile on the man's face froze and he quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe the cake for her. Hey, why are you acting like a shrew? Yu Lily took the glass from Fu Lingbing's hand and said sarcastically. Fu Lingbing saw that and shook his head. She has always been like this. I heard that you used to have a relationship with her. Is it really okay to say that? That was in the past. Now there is a prettier girl in front of me. Which one do you think I should choose? Fu Lingbing had a captivating smile on his face. One had to admit that his pretty face was quite attractive. Seeing Fu Lingbing's handsome smile, Lu Anan was even more furious and clenched her fists. Damn you, Yu Lily. She is a real vixen. Lu Anan dared to steal her man. She must be tired of living. Squeezing the crystal goblet in her hand, Lu Anan caught a glimpse of a slim but tall figure. The man was wearing a navy blue suit, neat and elegant. It turned out to be a handmade Italian suit. Lu Anan was stunned. Further up, there was a clean and handsome face, wearing a pair of rimless glasses. He was talking to a male classmate with a few female classmates around him, looking at him with admiration. This is Louis Han. Since when did he have such a good life? Lu Anan looked at Yu Lily and suddenly remembered the bad relationship between them when they were in high school. Since you stole my man, I will steal your man too. With the sweetest and most charming smile on her face, Lu Anan walked toward Louis Han, twisting her waist, slim and seductive. Many men stared at her, and Louis Han's attention was also attracted by her. Han, long time no see. Seeing her, Louis Han kept his smile on his face. Really? I see you on Weibo every day. Now that you are an internet celebrity, why don't you give me an autograph? Hearing that, Lu Anan's face changed and she could no longer keep her smile. It was no secret that she was being scammed on Weibo. Almost all of her classmates knew about it. Many men even took the initiative to strike up a conversation with her just to ask her out. But he was the first one to say it out loud like this. Louis Han saw that her face was not right, blinked, and said with concern, "Are you not feeling well? Why do you look so pale?" That's right. If you don't feel well, you should go to the hospital as soon as possible. A female classmate said. Could it be that he didn't get a clean abortion and left a sequela? Ha ha ha, the mocking voice spread out, and everyone looked at her with different expressions. Lu Anan could not stand it anymore. Trembling with anger, she was about to lose her temper. Suddenly, there were exclamations around her. The mocking voice stopped abruptly. Louis Han's smiling eyes looked at the door of the banquet hall. Yu Lily, who had been paying attention to him, clearly saw the shock in his eyes. This nerd, she had never seen him so interested in anything. Yu Lily followed his gaze, and her heart was suddenly choked by something. Chapter 101. At the place where everyone's eyes were focused, a noble figure in navy blue came into Yu Lily's sight. A wisp of light muslin straps hung diagonally over her dark blue bodice. From top to bottom, the color gradually faded, and by the end of the skirt, it had already turned into a moon-white color. The skirt was layered with light muslin, and the waist was adorned with a playful wrinkle design, outlining the slender waistline. The perfect curve, when it reached the calves, it blossomed into a luxurious fishtail skirt. There was a golden chain around the waist. The pure gemstone was shining under the light of the crystal lamp. Elegant. Around his neck was a rare sapphire pigeon egg. It was inlaid with a group of diamonds, giving off an air of nobility. On her wrist was the latest colorful bracelet of a luxury brand, which was expensive and youthful. Stunning. Her face was white and clean, with only light makeup as embellishments. Her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting, and her long, straight hair was tied up with a navy blue hairpin. It was simple, yet elegant, noble, and full of youthful vigor. Even though she was a woman, she could not help but be dazzled. She was really beautiful. Perhaps her facial features were not the most delicate, but her unique elegance was especially eye-catching. After a few seconds, there was a sudden exclamation. "Who is this? She looks so familiar. Is she our classmate? No way. Is there a girl like her among our classmates? Damn, what brand is she wearing?" I could not tell. Of course, no one could tell. She was wearing the latest evening dress designed by an international designer in Milan and the most Tiffany-style jewelry. Everything Su Qianxi was wearing right now was what Lu Ainin had been dreaming of. Why did a B***TCH like Su Qianxi have all this treatment and clothes? This world was really too unfair. There was jealousy in Lu Ainin's eyes. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of the man not far away and suddenly moved. It was Luihan. "Why are you so late? I thought you were not coming." Luihan's voice was a bit teasing and reproachful as he strode toward Su Qianxi. Lu Ainin was dazed. The man who had just ignored his female classmates was walking toward Su Qianxi. Not only Lu Ainin, the other girls who had failed to hit on Luihan were also shocked. They were surprised that Luihan would approach Luihan. Yu Lily, who was standing far away, clenched her fists and poured the wine down her throat. Luihan looked at Su Qianxi from a distance, not hiding the amazement in his eyes and face. He stopped about 2 or 3 steps away from her, as if he did not dare to approach. "Wow! She's too beautiful. I didn't expect to be blinded by her beauty. Is she even a woman? She's a goddess." Su Qianxi was amused. However, such a smile made the boys around her itch even more. It was as if it had come from the hands of a top illustrator. It was so beautiful and elegant that it was unbelievable. "Is that Su Qianxi?" someone suddenly asked. Hearing this, the person who had been thinking hard suddenly realized and couldn't help but curse, "Oh my god, this is Su Qianxi. This is too big of a change." Chapter 102. Her words attracted a lot of attention. Hearing that, Su Qianxi quietly curled her lips and said as she walked forward, "Your face really needs a good hospital to remodel it." Yu Lily suddenly spat out the wine she had just drunk and burst into laughter. Yu Lily's laughter made the people around her laugh as well. Lu Ainin's expression changed. No matter how stupid she was, she knew that Su Qianxi was calling her ugly. Gritting her teeth, she roared, "Su Qianxi." "Yes." Su Qianxi's eyes fell on her. "What's the matter?" Lu Ainin was roaring. However, seeing how calm Su Qianxi was, she felt like she had punched into cotton. She had nowhere to vent her anger. Everyone was staring at her, and Lu Ainin suddenly felt she could not back down. When she was thinking about how to yell at Su Qianxi turned her head as if she had seen something strange. Looking at Luihan, she asked, "Is it a costume party today?" Luihan was puzzled. "No. Oh. I thought they were pretending to be Snow White and the Poison Queen. It turns out that I misunderstood." Hearing that, everyone looked at Lu Ainin and Lin Wanting. One in black and one in blue. Weren't they Snow White and the Poison Queen? Especially the Poison Queen, she could not have looked any better. Lin Wanting almost went crazy. She felt the eyes of the people around her, as if everyone was looking at her with a strong sense of irony. Everyone seemed to be saying that she was ugly, ugly, and ugly. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Tears fell from Lin Wanting's eyes. "Su Qianxi, why are you doing this to me? I did not do anything." Su Qianxi heard that and looked confused. "What did I do to you?" Lin Wanting stopped crying for a moment and immediately roared in grief, I treat you as a good friend, but you colluded with Yu Lily to trick me into buying such expensive clothes and cutting my hair. Don't you think it's too much? When Yu Lily heard that, she wasn't happy. Hey, do you have any shame? You borrowed money from Chan to buy these clothes and shoes. If I didn't vouch for you, do you think a poor B*TCH like you would be able to borrow so much money? Aw. A girl said with a look of surprise, I thought she was rich. This must cost at least a few $100,000, and it's the same model as my mother's. I didn't dare to say it just now, but I didn't expect that she had borrowed money to buy it. Puhaha. It can't be, right? The same style as your mother. How can it be fake? But to be able to borrow so much money to buy a piece of clothing, he is really bold. Lin Wanting's face suddenly turned pale. She never thought that Yu Lily would expose her in front of so many people. That's right. The IOU is still here. Don't forget to pay me back. Yu Lily took out an IOU from her purse, shook it, and then gave it to Su Qianxi. Here, you forgot to take it last time. Seeing the IOU she had written, Lin Wanting became even paler and cried even harder. Yu Lily, Su Qianxi, what did I do to offend you? Why are you humiliating me like this? Chapter 103. It's not your fault for being brainless, but it's your fault for showing off. Yu Lily smiled brightly. Classmate Lin, you haven't topped up your IQ, have you? As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding crowd burst into laughter. Lin Wanting cried even harder, and tears fell down her cheeks. You guys are too much, Lu Anan finally said, but she was not that angry. Fortunately, Su Qianxi was talking about Snow White, who was at least a positive character, right? All right. Let's not talk too much. On the stage, Fu Lingbing held the microphone and stood straight. Thank you all for coming to the party I organized. Su Qianxi and Louis Han found a place to sit down, and Yu Lily quickly joined them. The three of them sat on the side, grabbed some drinks and chatted happily. Lu Anan glanced at Su Qianxi and Yu Lily with jealousy and pulled Lin Wanting to a secret corner. Do you remember our plan? Things are starting to change. I will go talk to them later, and you take the chance to put the medicine in Su Qianxi and Louis Han's cup. Yu Lily likes Louis Han and is Su Qianxi's best friend. Then let her best friend sleep with the man she likes. Lu Anan's eyes sparkled. Of course, she did not come up with this plan alone. Someone else was behind it. However, this was indeed the best idea she had ever heard. For one thing, we can get revenge on Yu Lily, and for another, we can ruin Su Qianxi's position in the Li family. After whispering to Su Qianxi, Lin Wanting's face became gloomy. She looked up and asked, Is that not a good idea? Lu Anan thought that Su Qianxi was being soft-hearted, stomped her foot, and cursed, They did this to you, made you a laughing stock, and made you owe a lot of money. Don't you want revenge? Lin Wanting heard that and sneered, I mean, isn't it too light? Lu Anan was dazed, not expecting that she would say that. What do you think? Do you see that guy? Lin Wanting pointed to a corner. Lu Anan looked over and immediately recognized that it was the ugliest and fattest guy in their class. Ding Haibao. Yes, that guy is not only fat, I heard that in the past few years, he has also played with many female celebrities and young models. I heard that he even played with a few to death, but they were all suppressed by his father. I've also heard of it. Don't tell me you want to. Let Su Qianxi be with this fat pig, and let Yu Lily be with Louis Han. No way, you want to help them. Don't you know that Yu Lily is a sugar daddy? Aw. Really? Her sugar daddy is Oh Ming. Think about it. If O Ming finds out that she slept with Louis Han, what will happen to them? Lu Anan was dazed for a second and then smiled. Then they will never be able to be human again. O Ming is very evil. Who knows what he will do to them? Then guess what will happen to Su Qianxi if she accuses a man like Li Xiqing? Haha, definitely worse than Louis Han and Yu Lily. More importantly, Li Xiqing was in the hotel now. If he could come and catch them in person, that would be fun. Chapter 104. Ding Haiba was gorging himself in the corner, his eyes squinting as he looked around. At such a high school reunion, the girls would not only compare their wealth but also their bodies. At a glance, Ding Haiba's deep white cleavage was swaying back and forth. He was drooling as he ate. However, the more he looked at it, the more he felt that it was boring. He looked to the corner, where a group of boys and girls were chatting happily. Among them, the figure in navy blue was the most elegant. That was Su Qianxi. The campus belle in high school, even at this reunion, she was the most outstanding one. When Ding Haiba was lost in his thoughts, he suddenly smelled some cheap perfume, and a black figure stood in front of him. Seeing that Yu Lily and Su Qianxi were together, the students who were close to them in the past also gathered around. 7 or 8 people stood together and chatted enthusiastically. Su Qianxi had drunk a bit too much water. When she got up to go to the bathroom, she saw Lu Anan talking to a waiter and did not pay much attention. However, when she came out of the bathroom, she bumped into someone she knew. Lin Wanting was touching up her makeup in the mirror. Seeing Su Qianxi coming out, she immediately put away her makeup and looked at Su Qianxi aggressively. Su Qianxi turned a blind eye to it. After washing her hands, she was ready to leave. However, when she walked out the door, she suddenly felt something behind her. Although she was not happy at the martial arts club, she had not learned judo for nothing. Su Qianxi frowned and saw a hand reaching toward her. Su Qianxi dodged the hand and grabbed the wrist firmly. Pulling the woman forward, she pushed her forward. Lin Wanting did not expect Su Qianxi to react so quickly. She was caught off guard and let out a scream. Ding Haiba, who was at the door, heard this exclamation and was overjoyed. He pushed open the door according to what they had discussed earlier and opened his arms to embrace. Holding a warm body in his arms, Ding Haiba did not see who it was, but he felt very satisfied. The first thing he did was to touch the chest of the girl in his arms and rub it hard. It was very elastic, and he felt very good. When he was about to go further, he suddenly saw Su Qianxi standing at the door of the women's restroom, looking shocked. This person is still standing, then who is this person? Ding Haiba looked down and saw Lin Wanting's weird posture and expression. Ah! Lin Wanting screamed and pushed Ding Haiba away. When Ding Haiba saw that it was her, he felt a little disgusted. What you? Don't you have eyes? Just fall down. As he said that, he smacked his lips and looked at his palm, reminiscing about the soft touch. Lin Wanting was ashamed and resentful. She turned around and yelled, Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi had some sympathy in her eyes. Glancing at Ding Haiba with a faint smile, she said, Good luck with women. Ding Haiba was even more stunned by her expression. His heart felt like it was being scratched by a kitten. It was terribly itchy. Staring at Su Qianxi's back, he rubbed his hands. Lin Wanting gritted her teeth. When she was about to chase after Su Qianxi, she saw Su Qianxi take a cocktail from a waiter. That was the one who had just talked to Lu Anan. Seeing this, Lin Wanting calmed down and sneered inwardly. Chapter 105. When Su Qianxi was about to go back to her seat with her glass, she saw Lu Anan walking toward her. Lu Anand glanced at the glass in Su Qianxi's hand, raised her glass, and said to Su Qianxi, I was too extreme a while ago. I am sorry. Su Qianxi, let's forget about the past and make up, shall we? Then she raised her glass to Su Qianxi. Glancing at Lu Anand, Su Qianxi did not want to clink glasses with her at all. Holding the crystal glass with her long fingers, Su Qianxi half smiled. Make up. Since a long time ago, Lu Anand had been treating Su Qianxi like a fool. In her previous lifetime, Su Qianxi might have been fooled by Lu Anand's *T, but now, do we have a good time? Lu Anand did not expect Su Qianxi to say that. Holding the glass tightly, she forced a smile and said, Of course. We are good friends, aren't we? Oh, really? Su Qianxi curled her lips. I forgot. Then she was about to walk around Lu Anand. Looking at the glass of wine in Su Qianxi's hand, Lu Anand was anxious. She had seen Su Qianxi take the glass with her own eyes, but Su Qianxi did not take a sip. Had Su Qianxi seen through her? Lu Anand felt a bit uneasy, feeling that Su Qianxi was more and more mysterious. She would only have such a strong feeling when she was with Li Xiqing. Was Su Qianxi influenced by her company? No matter what, she had to make Su Qianxi drink the wine today. Lu Anand. Lin Wanting stopped her. Lu Anand turned around, and Lin Wanting had already walked over. In a low voice that only they could hear, Lin Wanting said, I have already fed Ding Haibo the drug and tricked him into getting a room. We only need to take Su Qianxi there. With the drug, she will not be able to escape. Next, it is up to you. Lu Anand smiled with satisfaction and looked at Lin Wanting with admiration. I did not expect you to have some tricks up your sleeve. The next part is going to be interesting. Although it was important to take care of Ding Haibo, it was not enough to ruin Su Qianxi. But if they could be caught in bed while they were doing it, then it would be a different story. Seeing them whispering to each other, Su Qianxi knew they must be up to no good. But what exactly did they want to do? Things had deviated from the track of her previous lifetime. She had no idea what would happen next. Secretly on guard, Su Qianxi took a sip of the champagne glass in her hand and thought about something. The moment Lu Anand turned around, she saw her drink the wine. Although it was only a sip, it was enough to make Lu Anand jump for joy. He drank it all. Su Qianxi had been paying attention to them. After seeing Lu Anand's expression, she had a bad feeling. Sensing Su Qianxi's strange gaze, Lu Anand was a bit surprised. Did Su Qianxi sense something? Feeling a bit guilty, Lu Anand walked over and said, Su Qianxi, although you do not want to admit it, I really see you as a good friend. Here's to you as an apology. After that, he drank the wine in his hand. Seeing that Su Qianxi did not move, he urged, Qianxi, for my sake, we used to be friends. Let's have a toast, shall we? Su Qianxi asked. Chapter 106. As soon as Li Xiqing finished his business, he received a message on his cell phone. It was an MMS. It was an unfamiliar number, but the picture of the MMS looked somewhat familiar. Li Xiqing swiped on the screen, clicked on it, and downloaded it. He immediately saw a familiar figure. Wearing a navy dress, Su Qianxi looked elegant and charming. She was blushing. Standing in front of her was a handsome young man wearing a pair of rimless glasses. They looked at each other and smiled, seeming to be talking about something. Their background was a hallway. Judging from the decoration and style, it should be the Royal Hotel where he was now. Then, another message came in. This time, it was a room number plate. F1805. It would not be a problem to see either of the two messages alone. However, they came in together and saw them together, which was very meaningful. Li Xiqing's pupils contracted, and his heart sank. An uncontrollable anger suddenly rose up in him. Tang Menjing had known Li Xiqing for more than a decade and could immediately tell that he was not in a good mood. Han Sen was overjoyed. He knew that Lu Ainan's plan must have started. Glancing at his cell phone, Tang Menjing quietly put away the documents and said casually, "I heard that Su Qianxi's classmates are having a reunion today, and it is also being held in this hotel. It should not be over yet. Shall we go and have a look?" "How do you know?" Li Xiqing's voice was so cold that it almost froze. Looking at Tang Menjing, his eyes almost peeled off a layer of her skin. Her heart racing, Tang Menjing explained, "My cousin. She is her classmate, right?" Therefore, it was not strange that she knew Su Qianxi was here. Li Xiqing seemed to accept this explanation. He stood up and walked toward the door, as fast as the wind. Tang Menjing let out a sigh of relief and picked up her cell phone. She saw the message from Lu Ainan 20 minutes ago, "Everything is ready. Please be ready." Curling her lips, Tang Menjing deleted the message and trotted to Li Xiqing with the documents. Seeing Su Qianxi finish the wine, Lu Ainan smiled gratefully. "Su Qianxi, I know we are good friends. You will miss me too, right?" Su Qianxi looked at the smile on her face and felt even more strange. She took a step back and said, "I'm just thirsty. Don't think too much." After saying that, he turned around and prepared to walk back into the crowd. Being ignored like that, Lu Ainan was not annoyed at all. Instead, she smiled proudly. "Soon, you will be finished." Clearly feeling the eyes of Lu Ainan and Lin wanting, Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. What were they expecting? Under their gaze, Su Qianxi suddenly changed her path and deliberately walked to the door of the banquet hall. The door of the banquet hall was of a heavy European design. Its surface was smooth and clearly reflected everything behind it. Su Qianxi immediately saw Lin wanting following her and sneered inwardly. Pretending to be drunk, she stumbled and grabbed the chair next to her. Lin wanting saw Su Qianxi from a distance and was overjoyed. She came up and held Su Qianxi, looking concerned. "Su Qianxi, are you okay? Don't tell me he's drunk." Su Qianxi pretended to wave her hand, but Lin wanting dragged her up. "Let me take you to rest. You will be fine after lying down." Something was wrong. Su Qianxi hesitated and let Lin wanting drag her up to the 18th floor. The number was F1805. Lin wanting heard a faint sound coming from inside. She casually took out a key card from her bag and placed it on the doorknob. Beep. Chapter 107. As soon as the door was opened, the sound inside suddenly stopped, as if it had never been there. Lin Wanting's expression did not change, and she said with concern, "Have a good rest." Then she pulled Su Qianxi into the room. Su Qianxi's eyes turned cold, and her heart sank. Suddenly, she heard breathing inside. The sound was very light, but it made Su Qianxi feel more threatened. No, there was definitely something wrong inside. Using her back to resist Lin Wanting's strength, Su Qianxi stepped back and broke Lin Wanting's hand. Lin Wanting yelped in pain and was dragged into the room by Su Qianxi. Ha! Ouch! It was dark in the room, but Su Qianxi could hear the heavy breathing. With the light in the hallway, Su Qianxi clearly saw Ding Haibo's fat face. His muscles were shaking in pain, and his eyes were terrifyingly red. Her heart skipping a beat, Su Qianxi took a step back. Lin Wanting, who was in the room, had no time to escape. Her expression changed dramatically, and she screamed, "No, go away." However, she was dragged into the room by Ding Haibo. No. Struggling, Lin Wanting looked up at Su Qianxi for help. Help me, Su Qianxi, help me. Give it to me, give it to me. Ding Haibao gasped and his thick arms quickly tore Lin Wanting's clothes. Her expensive dress emitted a sound of being torn. Seeing this, Su Qianxi was shocked. She had never thought that she would see such a scene. As an adult, she certainly knew what his reaction meant. However, the shock in her eyes soon turned into coldness. Su Qianxi quickly stepped in, grabbed the door handle, and closed the thick door. Qi Ju's scream immediately disappeared in the room. His desperate scream disappeared, but he was still in shock. Su Qianxi had never felt so lucky that she had learned judo for a while. Lin Wanting had almost ruined her life again. Help! Help! Through the door, she could still vaguely hear the screams and cries for help from inside. Every sound was like a heavy hammer, making her heart palpitate. If she had not reacted fast enough to push Lin Wanting back, she would have been the one being treated like this by Ding Haibao. Thinking of Lin Wanting's miserable scene, Su Qianxi could not help but feel disappointed and sad, but she did not have any sympathy for Lin Wanting. Sins committed by heaven can still be forgiven. The evils brought upon themselves were the hardest to bear. When Han Sen returned to the banquet hall, Lu Ainan was holding a cell phone with a smile on her face. However, when she looked up and saw Su Qianxi's elegant figure walking in, the smile on her face suddenly froze. At this moment, Su Qianxi's pace was neither fast nor slow, but every step was steady. Her face was cold, and her eyes were piercing. How could it be? How could it be? She clearly saw her drink the spiked wine with her own eyes, so how could she be so clear-headed? Shocked, Lu Ainan watched Su Qianxi walk over and could not help but feel nervous. Scared by Su Qianxi, Lu Ainan took a step back and exclaimed, "You." Su Qianxi looked down and saw that the message had been successfully sent, so she snatched the phone. Su Qianxi clicked on it and saw two pictures. Chapter 108. Slap. The crisp sound of a slap drew the attention of many people in the surroundings. Lu Ainan was caught off guard, but she soon reacted. Screaming, she was going to slap Su Qianxi's face back. However, Su Qianxi's reaction was faster. Blocking Lu Ainan's hand with her right hand, Su Qianxi slapped the other side of Lu Ainan's face with her left hand. The commotion here quickly attracted the attention of many people, and they quickly surrounded them. Ah! Su Qianxi. Lu Ainan was going crazy. No one had ever treated her like this before. The burning sensation on both sides of her face was very clear. Lu Ainan could even feel the swelling. With tears in her eyes, she lunged at Su Qianxi crazily. Su Qianxi's eyes turned cold and she quickly dodged to the side. Lu Ainan stumbled and almost fell. When she finally steadied herself, she was pushed from behind and fell flat on her face. Although the floor was soft and did not hurt her hands, Lu Ainan felt humiliated when she fell to the ground in such an ugly way. Hey, hey, hey. Fu Lingbing quickly pulled Su Qianxi back and tried to calm her down. Let go of me. Being grabbed, Su Qianxi's cold eyes became even colder. Glancing at him, she growled, "Let go." Fu Lingbing was stunned by the shout. He immediately raised his hand and made a gesture of surrender. Seeing that Su Qianxi was going to hit her again, Lu Ainan was scared and screamed, "Su Qianxi, what's wrong with me? Why are you doing this to me?" Su Qianxi smiled. What's wrong? As she spoke, she raised the phone she had just taken from Lu Ainan's hand and said angrily, "What do you mean by sending a picture like this to my husband?" Husband? She had a husband. Most of the students did not know about it and looked over curiously. Lu Ainan was scared, but she quickly got up and cried, "What are you talking about? I don't understand at all." Su Qianxi sent the two pictures to her high school group. For a moment, many people's cell phones rang. When Louis Han saw the photo, he was stunned. Sliding his finger to the side, he saw the ambiguous room number, and his face quickly became gloomy. F***ck, they can even post this kind of picture. It can't be. They just took a picture of them talking and sent a room number. Does that mean something's wrong? You can't say that. Who wouldn't think too much about such a picture? Besides, which man can stand it? Lu Ainin quickly waved her hand and tried to explain, "This phone is not mine. Lin Wanting asked me to keep it for her. It has nothing to do with me." Really? Then look at the time it was sent 5 minutes ago. Was Lin Wanting here? Maybe she set a time to frame me. Okay, then how did Lin Wanting get my husband's number? Su Qianxi's eyes were a bit sharp, and her tone was aggressive. Several classmates who used to be close to Su Qianxi were very surprised. Since when did Su Qianxi have such an aura? But, so handsome. Under Su Qianxi's aura, Lu Ainin felt indescribable pressure and couldn't help feeling guilty. When Li Xiqing walked into the banquet hall, he saw a crowd. He vaguely heard Su Qianxi's cold voice asking, "How did you get my husband's number?" Hearing this voice, Li Xiqing's cold and sharp eyes softened a bit. Husband. Chapter 109. Lu Ainin looked away and puffed out her chest. How do I know how she got it? Why don't you ask her instead? Su Qianxi, don't go too far. Do you really think you are all that? You even beat Ainin like this. A short-haired girl in a simple pink gown walked up to Lu Ainin, obviously siding with her. That's right. Lin Wanting was trying to frame you and put the blame on Ainin. A girl who was close to Lu Ainin came up and felt sorry for her. Lu Ainin had been beaten up and was already jealous. Seeing that someone was siding with her, she immediately burst into tears. It was them. In her previous lifetime, Lu Ainin and Lin Wanting worked together to frame Su Qianxi. When Su Qianxi was doomed, the two of them also played a big part. In this lifetime, they were still on Lu Ainin's side, like angels of justice. So, the girl who grew up in the orphanage is not only uneducated but also brainless. One of them said. The other person quickly laughed, his face full of mockery. Louis Han was furious. He stepped forward and stood next to Su Qianxi. Looking at the two women coldly, he said with an obvious warning, "Don't go too far." Oh, the guardian angel is here. Why didn't you say she went too far when she was beating people up? What a good dog. You really think we don't know? You have always treated Su Qianxi differently. Unfortunately, she has a rich background and does not like poor people like you at all. Speaking of which, a whore and a dog will last forever. You two are a perfect match. The two of them echoed each other and said very harsh words. However, Lu Ainin's face had obviously softened a lot, feeling very good. You are too much. Apologize. Louis Han burst into anger and lowered the pressure around him. Obviously, he was not the gentleman he had been talking about. In everyone's eyes, Louis Han had always been smiling and carefree. No one expected Louis Han to be like this when he was angry. Caught off guard, they were a bit scared. But when she thought of Louis Han's poor background, she became more courageous. Lu Ainin sneered, "Are they wrong? Apologize." Louis Han was furious. I never hit a woman. Don't force me to make an exception. Apologize to Qianqian. Why should we apologize? Did we say anything wrong? Su Qianxi is a whore. Bitch. Bitch. Louis Han became even more furious. However, just as he was about to lose his temper, a clear and low voice passed through the crowd and fell into everyone's ears. "Who did the B*TCH say?" Hearing this voice, Su Qianxi was shocked and looked in the direction of the voice incredulously. "It's Li Xiqing." No one knew who spoke first, but when they heard those 3 words, many people turned their heads to look. As someone from Kingstown, you might not know who the new mayor was. However, there was no way you didn't know him. The crowd consciously parted to form a path, and everyone could clearly see a cold and aloof figure. Wearing a black suit, he looked cold and aloof. His almond-shaped eyes were filled with an indescribable coldness as they steadily landed on the female classmate who had just called her a whore. Chapter 110. Li Xiqing's tall figure walked into the crowd, like a noble god, out of place with everything around him. However, the moment he entered the hall, he attracted everyone's attention. His aura was cold. His pitch-black and deep cold eyes were like 2 icy blades that forcefully tore through the crowd and swept towards the woman that spoke rudely earlier. However, just when everyone thought that Li Xiqing would definitely do something, his cold and sharp eyes quickly moved away. He did not stay there for more than 2 seconds. It was as if it was just an accidental glance. Li Xiqing called, "Qingyu." There was a hint of coldness in his voice. After spending 3 years together, Qingyu already knew Li Xiqing like the back of her hand. There was no need for words or orders. Qingyu already knew what Li Xiqing meant. "Yes, sir," she answered quickly, turned around, and walked out of the banquet hall. Just then, everyone noticed that there were 2 women behind Li Xiqing. "Cousin." Seeing Tang Menjing, Lu Anan looked aggrieved, tears rolling down her cheeks. Tang Menjing frowned and did not pay attention to her. However, Lu Anan walked up, covered her face, and said, "My face. Look, she hit my face like this." In her eyes, Tang Menjing was without a doubt a reliable backer. In addition, Tang Menjing and Li Xiqing had known each other for so many years. As long as Tang Menjing wanted something, Li Xiqing would help her. With tears in her eyes, Lu Anan looked at Tang Menjing pitifully for help. Tang Menjing felt a bit impatient, but she still said softly, "Who is it?" "Su Qianxi." "Well." Tang Menjing seemed to be hesitating and quietly looked up at Li Xiqing. His delicate facial features looked holy and noble under the luxurious crystal lights of the ancient European design. However, his perpetual indifference sent a strong signal that no one should approach him. His expression was as calm as ever. Unable to see or guess, Li Xiqing did not seem to hear the noise behind him and strode to Su Qianxi. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes were filled with deep shock. Li Xiqing was actually walking toward Su Qianxi. What did that mean? The gazes of the surrounding girls, which were originally filled with admiration, turned into astonishment in that instant. Then, it turned into intense envy, jealousy, and hatred. Facing the shocked eyes of the people around her, Su Qianxi could only see that man. His heartbeats suddenly became heavier. It was as if every step he took was stomping on her heart, shaking her like that. He actually came. Shouldn't he choose to watch from the sidelines? Li Xiqing looked down and saw her exposed shoulder. His eyebrows furrowed imperceptibly. He reached out and unbuttoned his suit. His slender fingers swayed like a beautiful painting. Su Qianxi's head buzzed. He took off his clothes in public. What was he trying to do? Su Qianxi seemed to see the wheat-colored skin, clear lines, and looming mermaid lines. Subconsciously, she took a step back, but he held her hand firmly in his. When she looked up, she was met with his deep, cold, and reserved gaze. The moment their eyes met, Su Qianxi felt that he had been caught red-handed. Her cheeks immediately blushed. When she was about to say something to explain, he took off his suit and put it on her. Chapter 111. It's time to go home, honey. Honey, honey, honey. Su Qianxi's heart seemed to have been hit by something. Immediately, an indescribable feeling spread from the bottom of her heart. He was calling her. Su Qianxi was dazed, feeling like she was dreaming. However, the suit on his shoulder continued to emit the warmth that belonged solely to him. It was so real, so real. However, as soon as Li Xiqing's voice fell, there were waves of exclamations around him. Damn, what the hell? Su Qianxi's husband is Li Xiqing. No way, why would she like that? Before the indignant words were finished, she immediately trailed off and looked over timidly. Mr. Li. The female classmate who had insulted Su Qianxi suddenly became anxious. I was just joking with my old classmate. I did not mean to insult Su Qianxi, Mr. Li. Seeing her reaction, Lu Yihan's heart was unspeakably depressed. Li Xiqing had not said or done anything, but those people were already looking at him like that, trying to please him. At this moment, Lu Yihan felt like he was a clown. Overestimating one's capabilities and extremely lamentable. Looking at Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi standing side by side, they looked so compatible and harmonious. Of course, with such a man around, Qian did not need his protection and help at all, right? However, he was not willing to give up. However, it seemed that Li Xiqing did not hear the woman's flattering voice. Carefully putting the suit on Su Qianxi's blouse, he whispered, "Let's go." Putting his rough hand on Su Qianxi's nervously curled-up body, he pulled her toward the door of the banquet hall. Su Qianxi followed him, looking at the amazed, envious, jealous, and incredulous eyes around her. She lowered her head, her heart pounding. It seemed that she had become the object of everyone's envy. However, what could she do? She felt like she had stolen all this, which was so unreal and unreliable. Subconsciously, Su Qianxi turned her head to look at the crowd. She saw Tang Menjing was still standing there, with Lu Ainin standing next to her with swollen cheeks. Like everyone else, Lu Ainin looked envious. Seeing her like this, Su Qianxi's heart, which had been uneasy, was very happy. Keeping up with his footsteps, she took his arm intimately and beamed like a blooming flower. Tang Menjing clenched her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Seeing Su Qianxi walking toward the door, Tang Menjing could no longer pretend. His heart was burning with rage, and an indescribable hatred was like a vine, climbing layer by layer. Based on what? Based on what? If it were not for Su Qianxi, Tang Menjing would be the one enjoying all this. Just as they were about to leave the banquet hall, the phone of the girl who had just insulted Su Qianxi rang. Hey, Dad. However, in less than 2 seconds, her face changed dramatically, and she screamed, "What? How could this be? Wasn't everything fine this morning? How could it go bankrupt just like that? Bankruptcy." Such a sensitive word caused everyone to look at her. Chapter 112. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. One by one, they cast their gazes towards the two people. The woman's mind was blank. Suddenly, she chased after Su Qianxi like crazy, yelling, "Mr. Li, Mr. Li." However, before she got close, she was stopped by a woman. Cheng Yu stood in front of her indifferently and said coldly, "It's useless." However, she would not give up. Pushing Cheng Yu away, she chased after Su Qianxi. However, someone else was faster. Fu Lingbing stopped her and pretended to comfort her. Instead of thinking about how to apologize, why don't you think about how to save your family from the crisis? Am I right, Cheng Yu? Fu Lingbing smiled seductively and looked at her, thinking that he was handsome. Qingyu only glanced at him and nodded. She turned to Tang Menjing and said, "Miss Tang, please sort out the information as soon as possible. I need it before 10 p.m. Being ordered around in front of so many people, Tang Menjing felt a bit embarrassed. However, Qingyu was her superior, so she could only nod. Qingyu took a deep look at Tang Menjing, turned around, and walked away. Fu Lingbing's eyes lit up and couldn't help praising, "Cool. Fu Lingbing, let me go. That's too much." The woman cried and wanted to chase after her. However, in order to please Li Xiqing and the beauty, Fu Lingbing would not let her go. After a while, Qingyu's figure had disappeared. Tang Menjing did not look happy and gave Lu Ainin a hard stare. "Come here." Lu Ainin shivered and immediately followed Su Qianxi to a secluded corner. "Didn't I give you something? Why can't you do it properly?" Tang Menjing's voice was low, but her anger was obvious. Lu Ainin felt wronged. "I had already told the waiter to sell her the cocktail with extra ingredients, and I saw her drink it." "Why, cocktail?" Tang Menjing's face darkened. "Su Qianxi is allergic to cocktails and never drinks them. How can you not know?" Lu Ainin was dazed. "How come?" However, as she said that, she suddenly remembered something. Yes, what she added was a cocktail, and what Su Qianxi drank seemed to be champagne. However, she had been watching her all the time. Why did Su Qianxi have the time to change that glass of wine? Lu Ainin thought hard and suddenly remembered the time when Lin Wanting called her over for a talk. Less than a minute, but it was in that less than a minute that her eyes left Su Qianxi, right? "Idiot, you can't even do such a small thing. I even went through so much trouble to help you clear your name on Weibo. If I knew you were so useless, I would have done it myself." Lu Ainin's face became paler and paler. She quickly said, "Cousin, don't be mad. I still have something up my sleeve." "He's already gone. What other tricks do you have up your sleeve?" "Room. I asked Lin Wanting to use Su Qianxi's ID to open the room, so we can blame it on her." Tang Menjing gritted her teeth. "Idiot. Can't they check the surveillance? And, where is Lin Wanting?" Lu Ainin was dazed and then realized that Lin Wanting was long gone. Chapter 113. Startled, Tang Menjing exclaimed, "5 pills. He could die." Lu Ainin was almost in tears. "What should we do?" "I'll call an ambulance." However, before she could get through, Tang Menjing stopped her. "Are you crazy? You could go to jail if you try to save him. What should we do?" Tang Menjing looked gloomy and calm. "Pretend you don't know anything and go back." "Well, you want to go to jail?" "No." "Then pretend you don't know anything and go home." The crowd gradually dispersed, but some people who were close to Li Xiqing stayed to drink and chat. It wasn't until 10 o'clock in the evening that the drinking party ended. When the last group of people was about to leave, a man who was close to Fu Lingbing suddenly asked, "What is the room number that Su Qianxi just sent?" "F1805. What's wrong?" "I think there's no smoke without fire. If Mr. Li really believes it and breaks into the room, what do you think he will see?" "You want to see? Let's go." The group of people went to the 18th floor. As soon as they reached the door, they heard beast-like roars and the sound of things being smashed. They smiled and looked at each other. When they were about to leave, a girl suddenly shushed them and leaned against the door. "I think I heard Lin Wanting's voice." The guys behind her were dazed and also leaned over curiously. "Help!" The weak cry for help shocked them all. The girl was close to Lin Wanting. After confirming that it was Lin Wanting inside, she immediately called the police. Someone went to the front desk to get the key. However, when he broke the door open, he smelled the scent of blood. On the other hand, Lin Wanting was dying. The moment she saw the door open, she burst into tears and screamed, "Help me." Her voice was hoarse, with desperation and relief, completely different from her usual soft voice. Hearing it, everyone was shocked. The girl who was close to Lin Wanting almost cried and yelled, "Wanting." Ding Haiba acted as if he didn't notice the movements around him, viciously venting his beast language. Below him was a bloody mess, unbearable to look at. When a few big men went up to pull Ding Haiba away, they were punched a few times. In the end, 3 men went up and forcibly suppressed Ding Haiba. Lin Wanting was almost half dead. When she was carried to the ambulance, there was a line of blood on the ground. This incident soon alerted the higher-ups of the local police station, and Chief Ding was implicated. He was summoned for interrogation that very night, and his position was suspended. Walking out of the banquet hall with his hand in hers, Su Qianxi felt like she was in a dream. Looking up at his firm profile, her heart raced out of her control. However, no matter how much his heart palpitated, he still had to know his limits, right? She took her hand back and blushed. Looking up, she asked, "Why are you here?" Li Xiqing's eyes were calm. Hearing her words, he naturally looked down and answered, "Looking for you." Su Qianxi's breath seemed to skip a beat as she stared at him blankly. "Looking for you." Chapter 114. Li Xiqing looked into her eyes and said calmly, "Let's go home." She nodded and looked at the black Maybach that had been waiting at the entrance of the hotel. Yang had already opened the door for them. Everything was so real. "Miss Su." Su Qianxi heard a familiar voice, and she turned around. It was Xing Shiming. "I didn't expect to see you here." His voice was full of surprise. However, the moment Xing Shiming saw Li Xiqing, his smile faded a bit. He walked over and asked Su Qianxi, "Is this your husband?" Su Qianxi nodded and looked at Li Xiqing. In her previous lifetime, Li Xiqing would never allow her to introduce herself like this. But now, Li Xiqing frowned and reached out his hand to Xing Shiming. "Hello, I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you." Xing Shiming also held Li Xiqing's hand, but there was a hint of hostility in his eyes. "Is your relationship okay?" The first thing Li Xiqing thought of was the divorce contract lying on his bedside table. It was stamped by Xingshi law firm, and the lawyer who signed it was Xing Shiming. What did that mean? He was so old, and he was still lusting after a 20-year-old woman. Li Xiqing's eyes narrowed, and his expression softened a bit. Reaching out, he took her hand and announced, "Thank you for your concern. My relationship with my wife is completely fine. What do you think, honey?" Su Qianxi was caught off guard by that sensitive title again, and her heart skipped a beat. Seeing Li Xiqing's cold gaze and Xing Shiming's passionate one, she blushed and nodded. "Let's go home." Li Xiqing let go of Xing Shiming's hand in satisfaction and took Su Qianxi in his arms, whispering, "Make noodles for me when we get home." Su Qianxi's head buzzed and she immediately blushed. Make noodles for him? Oh, was she dirty? Why did she couldn't help but push him away. What are you talking about? Let's go. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. Looking at her seriously, he asked, "It's just a bowl of noodles. What are you thinking about?" Su Qianxi was speechless. Yang couldn't hold it in. Chuckling, Su Qianxi blushed even more. Looking up, she saw Xing Shiming's slightly complicated look and suddenly felt angry. She glared at him and pushed him away. "Go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore." As he spoke, he got into the car. Seeing her so embarrassed, Li Xiqing's lips, which had been tightly pursed, slightly curled. Xing Shiming had mixed feelings. He had thought that their relationship must be very bad. That was why she sent him a divorce contract just a few days after their marriage. But now, it seemed that it wasn't what he had imagined. Your wife is so cute. Thank you. I think so too. Li Xiqing's expression did not change. I'll leave now. Mr. Sheng, please help yourself. After that, he turned around and got into the car. The black Maybach sped away, leaving Xing Shiming standing there with a complicated expression. He opened an old-fashioned pocket watch in his hand, and a picture suddenly appeared. Looking at the eyebrows, it was 70% similar to Su Qianxi. Chapter 115. After getting in the car, Su Qianxi wanted to find a hole to hide in. Oh! It was so embarrassing. How could she lose so much face in front of Uncle Sheng? Sob, 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 her reputation. When Su Qianxi was feeling upset, Li Xiqing also got in the car. Feeling even more embarrassed, Su Qianxi slightly shrank into the car. Li Xiqing looked calm. After getting in the car, he loosened his tie and glanced at her embarrassed face. Curling his lips, he said calmly, "Tomorrow, I will be on a business trip." His voice was icy cold, no different from usual. Su Qianxi felt a bit better. Oh. In her previous lifetime, he also went on a business trip the day after the class reunion. However, he didn't inform him about it. In the end, Su Qianxi learned from Tang Menjing that he was on a business trip to Australia. During this time, Tang Menjing would report Li Xiqing's schedule and status to her from time to time, showing off that she was with him all the time and that Su Qianxi was just a sad old woman. About a month. If you think the house is empty, you can go to the old house to spend some time with Grandpa. Okay. Although she knew that he would be on a business trip, thinking that Tang Menjing would be with him for a month, Su Qianxi did not feel comfortable. Looking up, she asked in a low voice, "Will Tang Menjing be there too?" "Yes." Seeing that she did not look right, Li Xiqing frowned and explained, "She studied in Australia, so it will be more convenient with her." However, she did not have good intentions. Su Qianxi remembered that on the 20th day of their business trip, Tang Menjing accidentally called her and asked her to listen carefully to the sound of sex. Although she was not sure if that man was Li Xiqing. However, that kind of intimate breathing seemed to be shuttling through her ears, so clear, Su Qianxi's heart suddenly felt like it was pinched by something, making her feel uncomfortable. You mind her? It was not that Li Xiqing did not know how Tang Menjing felt about him, but he had always believed that he did not have to be afraid of the shadow. His feelings for Tang Menjing stopped at the level of a neighbor's sister. Nothing more. For so many years, he had turned a blind eye to the instigation and matchmaking of the elders. Even when his mother asked him to work as a secretary in his office, he had never refused. However, he had never thought that she would mind. Su Qianxi heard the question and blinked. Could she say it? She minded, she really minded, really minded. However, what right did she have to mind? She was about to divorce him, and there were less than 10 months left before their relationship would officially end. In addition, he had always liked Tang Menjing, not her, right? However, knowing was one thing, but his heart was still empty. She shook her head. I don't know about your work. Li Xiqing did not respond, and the atmosphere suddenly became silent. For the next 20 days, he spent half of his time in the old house. For the rest of the time, she would take art classes such as illustration and painting. Soon, the new school year would begin. Summer passed quickly, and Su Qianxi entered her junior year and began to be very busy. On the 28th day of Li Xiqing's business trip, she received a call from Tang Menjing at 8 p.m. Chapter 116. His heart trembled violently. Staring at the phone that kept ringing, she was a bit dazed. Tang Menjing, Li Xiqing, she reached out and took the phone. Staring at the answer button, she did not dare to touch it for a long time. Her heart felt like it had been pinched, so sore and painful. Should she answer it? She did not dare to. She was afraid to hear those horrible sounds, the moans that had echoed in her mind for countless days and nights. Should she not answer it? But what if? Things in this life had deviated more and more from the track of her previous life, hadn't they? What if this life was also different from the previous one? Su Qianxi felt she was in a dilemma and panicked. Answer it, why not give it a try? He had already experienced it once, hadn't he? Answer it, there was a voice in her heart that kept urging her. When the phone was about to automatically hang up, she pressed the answer button. Brother Xiqing. Slow down. On the other side of the phone, Tang Menjing was moaning and moaning, mixed with the man's low panting and the faint sound of sex. Brother Xiqing. You are so good. His heart was instantly torn and dripping with fresh blood. The phone fell from her hand, and she couldn't help but burst into tears. He knew it would be like this. Why did he answer the phone? Why did he torture himself like this? Why? She knew that the man did not love her, but she still could not help but give her heart to him. Lying down, she covered her head with the quilt and burst into tears. She had never felt so cheap as she did at this moment. All the fluttering in his heart vanished in an instant. She didn't want to love him anymore, not ever again. Boss, the tickets have been booked, but... Qing Yu was hesitant. Do you have to be in such a hurry? It will be the same tomorrow, right? Li Xiqing crossed his legs and leaned on the sofa, looking noble. Glancing at her, he slowly got up from the sofa, without any intention to explain. Let's go. Qing Yu felt a bit resentful. This workaholic boss had not only shortened the original 1 month to 28 days, but he also wanted to go back to China overnight. Oh, dear. What kind of sin did she commit to actually follow such a boss? However, when he was about to walk out of the hotel, he received a call from Tang Menjing. Brother Xiqing. I'm in the room. Can you help me? I feel terrible. Frowning slightly, Li Xiqing was a bit dissatisfied, but he still asked, what's wrong? I feel terrible. Brother Xiqing, I will wait for you in the room. With obvious disgust in his eyes, Li Xiqing was a bit impatient. However, Tang Menjing had always been sensible. If there was nothing urgent, she would not have called him. After thinking for a while, he went upstairs to the room she was in. However, as soon as he entered the room, he smelled a strong smell of alcohol. Tang Menjing threw herself at him, her body soft. As if struck by lightning, Li Xiqing's first reaction was to push her away. Brother Xiqing, those people just made me drink a lot. I feel so bad. Indeed, Tang Menjing drank a bit too much. She had played a huge role in getting the business so smoothly this time. But what was the point of calling him to her room in the middle of the night? Chapter 117. Enough. Li Xiqing pushed her away with a cold face and stepped aside. I still have something to do. Have a good rest here and go back tomorrow. Tang Menjing heard the cold words and immediately burst into tears. Brother Xiqing, you did not treat me like this before. You did not treat me like this at all. Why? I am married. I don't care. I don't care, Brother Xiqing. Tang Menjing said, and was about to throw herself at Li Xiqing. Tang Menjing was wearing the mature low-cut evening gown that she had just worn to the party. At this moment, her chest was wide open, and more than half of the 2 balls in front of her were exposed. Her eyes were like silk, and her body was seductive. Qingyu secretly clicked her tongue, but it was not that she did not deny that Tang Menjing was extremely attractive like this. Even a woman like her had a reaction, let alone a normal man like Li Xiqing. However, it was clear that Qingyu had underestimated her big boss. On Li Xiqing's face, the expression on his face became colder. He took a step back and said in a deep voice, "Qingyu, help her sober up." "I don't care, brother Xiqing. You said before that you would marry me. Have you forgotten all about it?" Li Xiqing paused and whispered, "I did say that if the elders asked me to marry you, I would not refuse." Tang Menjing's face was overflowing with joy, but Li Xiqing's words immediately changed. "But Grandpa asked me to marry another woman." Li Xiqing seemed to see that panicked and shy face, and the coldness in his eyes slightly softened. "She is very good, and I do not have a hobby of cheating." Then he strode in the direction of the elevator. Tang Menjing's heart was dead, and she cried loudly. Qingyu's heart trembled, and she sympathized with Tang Menjing. As a woman, Qingyu was very clear about how destructive Li Xiqing's words were. Looking at Tang Menjing's crazy look, Qingyu was even a little worried that she would commit suicide. That was so cruel. "Miss Tang, go away. Go away. Don't think I don't know that you also want him. You also like brother Xiqing." Tang Menjing suddenly pushed her. "You want to laugh at me now, right? Get lost." Qingyu was furious, and the idea of helping her sober up disappeared in an instant. She stomped her feet and gritted her teeth. "You deserve it. Bitches are so unreasonable." With that, he left without looking back. Tang Menjing leaned against the door frame of the room. The makeup on her face was somewhat ruined, and she cried her heart out. But soon, the alcohol hit her, making her even more dizzy. She leaned against the door frame. He didn't know how long he had been in this half-drunk, half-dreaming state. Suddenly, he felt a pair of large hands moving around his body. When he opened his eyes, he could only see a blurry silhouette. His facial features were unclear, but he was tall. "Brother Xiqing, oh, delicious Chinese girls, I like them." Tang Menjing was startled and wanted to push the man away, but he had already carried her into the room. Subconsciously, she wanted to resist, but vaguely, she seemed to see Li Xiqing's face. "Brother Xiqing." Tang Menjing hugged the man in front of her and called him passionately. Chapter 118. When she got up early in the morning, she found that her eyes had become goldfish eyes. However, this morning was her favorite professor's class, so she had to find a pair of sunglasses and go to class with her goldfish eyes. When she took off her sunglasses in class, people kept asking her what was going on, and she received a lot of love. Fortunately, she did not have any classes in the afternoon. After class, she hurriedly put on her sunglasses and walked out of the classroom. She took out her cell phone and called Louis Han. For her future livelihood, she had to put that plan on the agenda. She met Louis Han in a quiet coffee shop and went straight to the point. "I want to invest in your company." Louis Han was dazed and smiled. "Stop joking, Mrs. Li. I don't want your investment." In Louis Han's view, Su Qinzi wanted to invest only because he was poor now. He did not need this kind of sympathy. Having known him for so many years, she naturally knew what he was thinking. Although Louis Han looked sloppy and lazy, he had a strong sense of self-esteem. In addition, he was competitive and proud. How could he accept her investment? Su Qinzi straightened up and looked serious. "I'm serious. I want to earn some money. Is your husband's money not enough for you to spend? Shaking her head, Su Qianxi looked a bit upset. I can't spend his money for the rest of my life. People always have to find a way out, don't they? Louis Han seemed to have heard something different. Raising an eyebrow, he took a sip of coffee. Oh, did Mrs. Li quarrel with Mr. Li? No. Then why are you doing this? Su Qianxi did not answer directly, but narrowed her eyes and said, 3 million. I will sell you a piece of information. Holy crap, 3 million. Louis Han almost jumped up and exclaimed incredulously, we are just a small team of college students. Are you not afraid that I will run away with the money? Louis Han looked at her as if she was a fool. You don't want it? Yes. Louis Han quickly agreed. However, I don't need that much. I only need 800,000 to start a new project. 5 million. I want 30% of your company's shares. In addition, I will invest in your new project. How about it? Louis Han's mouth could almost fit an egg. He looked at her as if she was crazy. Do you trust me that much? 5 million isn't a small amount, sis. If I want to run, you won't even be able to find my dregs. Then will you run? She asked. Of course not. Louis Han's first reaction was to answer, but soon, he understood and smiled. Okay, are you serious? Of course. 5 million is the largest amount of liquidity I can take out now. Isn't this sincerity enough? Of course it's enough. Louis Han chuckled, feeling both emotional and frustrated. What made him sigh was that Su Qianxi used to be so poor. In addition to going to class, she worked part-time. He did not expect that she would be so rich one day. What was frustrating was that Su Qianxi used to be so poor. Now she had turned over a new leaf, but she was still like this. It was really so sad. After discussing the detailed terms for about half an hour, the two of them walked out of the cafe. Chapter 119. Ma'am, Yang called. Su Qianxi was dazed, walked over, and frowned. How did you know I was here? Yang blinked his eyes with a, you know what I mean, expression on his face. Needless to say, it must be Li Xiqing. Frowning, Su Qianxi looked dissatisfied. She had just left school, and she had never told anyone that she was here. How did he follow her? She felt like she was being followed. Fortunately, Li Xiqing was on a business trip and would not be back for another 7 or 8 days. Now, only Yang saw her with Louis Han. Otherwise, if Li Xiqing saw them together, he might not know what to think. Thinking about it, Su Qianxi said, don't tell him that I met Louis Han today. Hearing this, Yang's expression became a little strange. He blinked his eyes as if he was trying to signal her with his eyes. Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat, not knowing if it was her illusion. Just as she finished speaking, a dangerous aura instantly spread out. What? Something to hide. A low, cold voice came from the back seat of the car, with a strong depression, as if from the ancient hell, and Su Qianxi's face suddenly changed. It was him. He was back. She quickly turned her head and looked at the back seat. However, from her angle, she could not see through it. Qian, let's go. Louis Han urged her, but Su Qianxi clearly felt that the air seemed to be even colder. The window of the back seat was rolled down, and Li Xiqing's profile appeared in front of Su Qianxi. Li Xiqing looked sideways and narrowed his eyes. Where are you going? Inexplicably, Su Qianxi felt uneasy. She said that just to make Li Xiqing not think too much. However, she did not expect that the guy was sitting quietly in the back seat. In this way, She could not explain herself even if she had 10 mouths. When she was thinking about how to explain, she suddenly thought of him and Tang Menjing panting like crazy last night. Last night, he was still having sex with Tang Menjing, and today he came back to Kingstown to follow her. Haha, he was so strong. The tension in her heart subsided, and the trace of guilt and uneasiness that she had felt just now completely disappeared. Facing his threatening gaze, she smiled and said, "I'm going to dinner. Mr. Li, are you interested in joining us?" Her smile was as bright as a flower. The moment it appeared, it stole his eyes. However, Li Xiqing's eyes were colder. He thought she would give him an explanation. As long as it was reasonable, he would consider forgiving her. However, how could she so blatantly admit to him that she wanted to have dinner with Louis Han? "I made dinner at home. But I have an appointment with a friend." She looked down at her watch. "Sorry, he has been waiting for me for a long time. Mr. Li, I'm leaving." With that, he really turned around and left. Li Xiqing's originally cold and calm eyes were gradually filled with a bit of anger. This woman. What did she mean by that? Now, she didn't even want to pretend anymore. Su Qianxi. He couldn't help but say, suppressing his anger. "Get in the car. I said I have something to do." Su Qianxi looked a bit cold, looking cold and distant. Bye. Louis Han clearly saw the change in Su Qianxi's expression and was dazed. Cold, extremely cold. Louis Han had never seen Su Qianxi look like this. He couldn't help glancing at Mei Baduo and immediately saw Li Xiqing, who also looked gloomy. Did the couple have a fight? Could it be that he had become a cannon fodder again? Chapter 120. Seeing Li Xiqing's cold gaze, Louis Han slightly shrank his head. Looking at Su Qianxi's cold face, Louis Han thought for a second and said, "Why don't you go back with Mr. Li? We can have dinner another day." "It's okay." Su Qianxi smiled. "It's okay. Mr. Li likes this kind of game, so he won't mind at all, right?" In her words, there was a hidden meaning. Her beautiful eyes wandered on Li Xiqing's face, full of meaning. Then she opened the door of Louis Han's car and got in. Louis Han saw that Li Xiqing's face looked even worse and felt very uneasy. It seemed that he had run into something big again. First, Su Qianxi inexplicably talked to him about investment, and then she was so blatantly throwing Li Xiqing's face away. It would be weird if it was not a fight. Louis Han felt a bit sad to have such a friend. However, for the good life of his friend, Louis Han still looked at Li Xiqing coldly and said, "I will help you talk to her." However, when Li Xiqing heard that, his hand on the door clenched into a fist. His veins bulged and he punched the door hard. Yang was startled. He had never seen Li Xiqing like this. What was going on? "Let's go home." Yang hesitated. "How about we go with Mrs. Li?" "Don't make me say it again." Yang shivered, immediately turned the steering wheel, and drove in the direction of home. When they got home after dinner, it was already past 8 p.m. Louis Han was very good at making small talk. Su Qianxi's bad mood had become a lot better. However, no matter how good her mood was, when she saw her cheating husband when she got home, her mood instantly plummeted. Seeing Li Xiqing sitting on the sofa in the living room, Su Qianxi's soft expression suddenly became cold. Li Xiqing clearly saw her expression. The anger that he had been suppressing all day was suddenly ignited. This woman was really different when she was with Louis Han than when she was with him. Was she that impatient to be with him? As if she did not see him, she walked past him and went upstairs. Li Xiqing clenched his fists and angrily threw the files in his hand, making a loud noise. She was startled, but she still straightened her back and walked to her room on the second floor. She liked him. She loved him. However, she was not cheap. Such a man, what she can do now is to stay away. Seeing that Su Qianxi was indifferent, Li Xiqing felt like there was a fire in his heart. This woman, Li Xiqing had never been treated like this in his entire life. However, it was precisely at times like this that Li Xiqing was able to remain calm. He sat down again, took out a cigarette, and slowly lit it. He said in a deep voice, "I've said it before. It's not that I don't allow you to make friends, but don't go too far." Su Qianxi paused and sneered, "Shouldn't you be self-disciplined before you try to control others? If he can't even control himself, what right does he have to control me?" Li Xiqing paused. What did she mean? Besides, it is clearly stated in the divorce contract that we will not interfere in each other's private lives. Mr. Li, aren't you being a busybody? Chapter 121. Li Xiqing's fingers holding the cigarette slightly closed. The fragile cigarette was twisted and broken at that moment. Not interfering with each other's private life. Suddenly, the phone on the table rang. It was Qing Yu. "Boss, the set of jewelry you ordered is ready. If everything goes well, you can receive it on your wife's birthday next month." "Okay," Li Xiqing responded casually. Qing Yu could tell that Li Xiqing was no longer interested in ordering this set of jewelry. Feeling a bit scared, Qing Yu tentatively asked, "Do you want to see the design?" "It's up to you." "Okay." Qing Yu felt even more strange. Although Li Xiqing was busy a few days ago, he was still very concerned about this matter. Why did he suddenly change his mind? "I think it's pretty good. Let's get to work." "Okay." Hanging up the phone, Li Xiqing leaned on the sofa and blew out a long smoke ring. The soft and warm light of the lamp fell on him, making his deep and cold eyes even deeper. Thinking about it, he sent a text message to Qing Yu. "Send me the design." In addition to going to class, Su Qianxi practiced with Luihan every day. In the beginning, Luihan was completely shocked by her well-practiced business ideas. From the beginning, he thought that Su Qianxi just wanted to get by and get shares. In the end, their admiration and respect for her could be said to be endless like a surging river. Su Qianxi was not arrogant in the face of his compliments. After all, she had lived 5 years longer than him. However, in the next half a month, Su Qianxi did not see Li Xiqing at home. Originally, she was afraid that when she saw him, she could not help but think too much. However, she found that she would think even more when she did not see him. Forget it, it was no big deal. When the Cold War lasted for more than 20 days, she received a call from Captain Li. "Grandpa? Qian, have you eaten?" "Yes." "Oh, did you and Xiqing quarrel recently?" Su Qianxi heard that and replied, "No." "Really?" "I really didn't." "Who told you?" "Oh, I heard from Nanny Rong that the boy hasn't stayed at home for almost 2 months. I didn't say anything when he went on a business trip in August, but I heard that he has been staying in a hotel this month. He almost wants to stay here for a long time." "You still want to lie to me?" Hearing Captain Li's reproachful tone, Su Qianxi suddenly felt sad. Whether it was her previous life or this life, her grandfather was the only elder who loved and cared for her. He was also the only role model that she could rely on and respect. However, she still denied, "No, we did not fight." "Humph, so that brat bullied you." "Grandpa, it's not like that. Maybe Nanny Rong misunderstood. We are very close. You still want to protect that kid?" "Humph. Forget it, the school is closed for the National Day holiday, right? What's the plan?" "Not at the moment. How about going to play with Grandpa?" Su Qianxi was dazed, and her expression immediately became strange. She asked, "You want to play?" Chapter 122. An eye-opener. Captain Li Sun had never been to the Maldives. She did not believe it. However, she could not say that out loud. She hesitated. "Well, you don't want to go with me because I'm an old man." Captain Li sighed. "I'm getting old. Even my granddaughter-in-law doesn't want to go with me." "I don't," Su Qianxi quickly retorted. "That's settled then. Don't go back on your word." Su Qianxi was speechless. Why did she feel that he was the one who would go back on his word? After hanging up, someone knocked on the door. It was Nanny Rong. Dinner is ready." "Okay, I'll go down later." When she opened the door, she saw Nanny Rong was still standing at the door. This is for you." Nanny Rong handed her a small envelope. Su Qianxi looked down and took it out. It was a photo. In the photo, an elegant white grand piano was placed under layers of wisteria. Golden sunlight shone through the gaps of the wisteria, decorating the piano with bits of gold. A girl in white was sitting in front of the piano, playing with her eyes down. Her face was wet. Behind the girl was a tall and sturdy figure. His expression was, Su Qianxi saw the man's expression and saw some softness on his face. It was completely different from his usual coldness. Was it her illusion? "You took this?" Nanny Rong nodded and said, In fact, Mr. Li is not as cold as he looks. I raised him since he was a child, and I know him too well. He doesn't say it, but he has already approved of you." Su Qianxi was dazed by Nanny Rong's words. Seeing her change, Nanny Rong thought that she had understood and continued, "There is nothing between a husband and wife that can't be reconciled. Talk to Mr. Li and ask him to move back here. It's not appropriate for him to live in a hotel every day without anyone to take care of him. Don't blame me for being talkative. In fact, Sir's temper is very good. Although he doesn't like to talk to people, he won't do anything excessive to anyone. I believe that there is a reason for everything he does. Don't argue with Mr. anymore. I feel uncomfortable seeing you like this." Nanny Rong said earnestly, "I'm going to retire in a few years, and I wanted to help you take care of the kids for a few years. Aren't you making me worry for nothing?" Su Qianxi's eyes looked down, and a bitter smile appeared on her lips. What Nanny Rong said made sense. But she didn't know. She didn't know anything at all. This time, it wasn't her fault. The phone call that night was like a thorn in her flesh. He wanted to pull it out, but he couldn't. Not to mention the disgust, there were also bursts of pain from time to time. "I know, Nanny Rong. Hey, I called Sir, but he didn't come back today. That's why I called old Mr. Don't blame me for being nosy. I'm doing this for your own good." "That's fine. Thank you, Nanny Rong." Seeing Su Qianxi's perfunctory attitude, Nanny Rong was exasperated. Well, at 9 o'clock in the evening, Su Qianxi took a shower and walked out of the living room. Before taking a shower, she was discussing the direction of the new project with Louis Han. The computer was still on the interface of the chat box. However, now it was on the desktop. Someone had touched her computer. At this time, Nanny Rong had already gotten off work. There could be no one else at home except her. Her heart seemed to be in her throat, and her hair stood on end. Chapter 123. This thought made Su Qianxi vigilant. Suddenly, there was a slight noise from the kitchen. It was very light, but it was real. Su Qianxi's heart was in her throat. Quietly, she went to the table and took her phone. She pressed the 3 numbers that people were familiar with and went to the kitchen. However, before she walked in, a meat wall suddenly appeared in front of her. Su Qianxi was startled and took a step back. However, she was too fast and tripped over her right foot, falling backward. Just when she thought she was going to fall miserably, the meat wall in front of her immediately moved. Su Qianxi's arm was grabbed and pulled up. She fell steadily on a broad chest. The familiar scent that she had not seen for a long time came into her nose, and her heart couldn't help but race. When he raised his eyes, he found himself in a pitch-black sea of stars. So deep, so thick, her heart continued to race, but she quickly recovered and pushed the man in front of her away. Suppressing the uncontrollable panic in her heart, she quickly looked away and asked awkwardly, "You? When did you come back?" Seeing that she seemed to be frightened, Li Xiqing suddenly wanted to ravage her. An indescribable fire burst from his lower abdomen and went straight to the bottom of his heart. Reaching out, he loosened his collar. She seemed to still smell the fragrance of the shower, and her unique scent lingered for a long time. His heart that had been calm and cold for a long time was a little restless. She had just drunk water, but she was still so thirsty. Ignoring her question, Li Xiqing turned to open the fridge again, poured himself a large glass of ice water, and drank it up. Su Qianxi felt a little empty and a little disappointed. However, she had expected it, hadn't she? Turning around, she went back to the computer and remembered something. Li Xiqing had just touched her computer. She turned her head and was about to question him when she realized that he was walking towards her. He lowered his eyes to glance at her computer screen, but he quickly shifted his gaze away and said calmly, "Shouldn't you fulfill your duties as a wife?" Hearing that, Su Qianxi was dazed. He abruptly turned his head to look at Zhang Xian, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Li Xiqing's eyes were calm. When he met her gaze, his eyes seemed to become deeper, flickering with some unknown meaning. Seeing that he did not seem to be joking at all, she became a bit nervous. "Li Xiqing, the contract says that you can't force me to do that with you unless both parties are willing." "That? Which one?" Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow, his eyes cold and filled with confusion. Seeing him being so serious, she felt a bit guilty. Why did his expression make it seem as though she was asking him to fulfill his marital obligations? Li Xiqing looked calm as usual. Glancing at her slightly shocked expression, he said seriously, "I just asked you to cook." "What are you thinking?" "Do cook." Li Xiqing didn't think there was anything wrong with what she said. Raising an eyebrow, he asked, "Do you think, do what?" "Sex." Su Qianxi waited for him to continue and subconsciously held her breath. "Isn't food your duty as a wife?" Hearing that, she was dazed. Then, Su Qianxi's face suddenly turned red, and the heat spread from the tip of her ears to the base of her neck. Chapter 124. Su Qianxi's face suddenly turned red, and the heat spread from the tip of her ears to the base of her neck. Yes, he was talking about the duty of a wife, not the duty of a couple. At first, she did not hear the difference. "Oh. So embarrassing. I've lost my face to the Pacific Ocean." With a strong regret, Su Qianxi felt extremely embarrassed at the moment. When she looked up again, she saw his calm and cold eyes. In the bottom of her eyes that she could not see, the coldness that had not changed for thousands of years suddenly melted. Li Xiqing clearly noticed her embarrassment. Staring at her little face that was obviously so embarrassed that she wanted to die, he stood behind the sofa and slightly leaned toward her. Seeing his tall figure suddenly leaning toward her, Su Qianxi was dazed. Staring at his handsome face, she forgot to move. His handsome eyebrows were slightly raised, and his voice was deep and slightly sexy. It was like a heavy cello playing beside her ear, ringing in her ear. You think I want to say sex? Su Qianxi's head suddenly buzzed. She suddenly stood up from the sofa and covered his mouth to stop him from saying anything. Before Li Xiqing finished his words, his mouth was covered. He had never been treated like this. This woman was getting bolder and bolder. However, in front of him, the pair of bright black eyes seemed to be shouting, "Don't say it, don't say it." The soft and fragrant sensation on his lips made it seem as though she was openly asking for a kiss. Tightly pressed against his lips, every corner of his body was inseparable from hers. His eyes became darker and darker. Su Qianxi looked into his eyes, wishing she could find a hole to hide in and never come out again. Would he think she was a slut? Would he think that he wanted to do that with her? Ah! She had never been so embarrassed. This feeling was incredible. But soon, she realized that she had actually covered his mouth with her hand. Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly took her hand back, too nervous to know where to put it. OMG. This world was too crazy. Li Xiqing hated it the most when someone touched him, especially his face and head. And now, she had actually done such a heaven-defying thing. Under his intense gaze, Su Qianxi blushed and said nervously, I'll go make something for you to eat. After saying that, he took a step forward and ran into the kitchen as if he was escaping. Li Xiqing watched her run away. His lips, which had been sealed for a long time, slightly curled up, but it was fleeting. She retracted her gaze and looked at the computer screen that had been lit up all along. She logged onto her most commonly used social media account ID. Thousands of Su Ci. It was indeed a good name. There were not many things left in the fridge. Because Li Xiqing was not there were only some eggs and millet that could be stored. Thinking about it, she cooked some millet porridge with a side dish and put it on the table. Li Xiqing had already showered. Seeing this simple supper, he sat down. I'll go back to my room first. Enjoy your meal. Wait. Su Qianxi paused and froze. Chapter 125. Hearing that, Su Qianxi turned around. Coincidentally, the man behind her also looked over at the same time. Their eyes met. That pair of black eyes were ice-cold, deep, and bottomless. Just looking at her quietly made Su Qianxi feel a sense of cold oppression. It's about the divorce. The low voice came again. Divorce, these two words, which he hadn't heard for a long time, suddenly entered his ears. Su Qianxi's heart was in a mess at that moment. What did he want? Early divorce. Facing his threatening eyes, Su Qianxi suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. His heart was filled with grievance and panic. In an instant, it was overflowing. Now, he was not even willing to lie to Grandpa. Was he so eager to be with Tang Menjing that he wanted to break up with her? His calmness reminded her of the scene in her previous lifetime when he asked her to sign the divorce agreement. Divorce. Just 3 words, but they were the last words he said to her in her previous lifetime. Looking at his serious and cold eyes, Su Qianxi seemed to see him 5 years later. Cold and decisive. Her eyes wet, Su Qianxi turned around and said in a low voice, I have nothing to talk to you about. Walking quickly to the sofa, she was about to put away her computer and go upstairs when he said, Stop. His voice was a bit low and dissatisfied. Su Qianxi paused, but soon went to the coffee table and put away her computer. Turning a deaf ear to what he said, she walked toward the stairs. If it were before, she might have stopped. But now, why should she listen to him? If you take one more step, he said coldly, you can forget about the company. Su Qianxi paused and suddenly turned around. How did you know? Hearing that, there seemed to be a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. Do you think you can hide what I want to know from me? Su Qianxi suddenly felt a chill down her spine. Incredulously, she asked, you spied on me? Seeing her stop, Li Xiqing looked satisfied and did not deny it. Glancing at the seat opposite him, he ordered coldly, sit down. After that, he leisurely picked up a pair of chopsticks and elegantly began to eat. Looking at his elegant look, Su Qianxi felt a chill in her heart. This man had been spying on her. It seemed like he didn't care about her, but in fact, she had always been living under his watch. This sort of thing was terrifying to think about. That's right, how could she forget? It was Li Xiqing. Before the age of 26, he had single-handedly made a name for himself in Kingstown. He had even brought his company to international heights before the age of 30. What else could such a man not do? Frozen for a moment, she turned and walked toward him. However, every step was extremely difficult. She didn't want to talk to him. She didn't want a divorce now. No matter how much he hated her, no matter how much he wanted to be with Tang Menjing, she would take the title of Mrs. Li. And Tang Menjing could only be a mistress. Before she completely destroyed Tang Menjing, she would not divorce. It was time to put the plan to destroy Tang Menjing on the agenda. However, this was definitely not the time. But now, what about her company? What about Louis Han's company? Chapter 126. When she was still hesitating, her lower abdomen suddenly twitched, as if a nerve was suddenly twitching, and her face suddenly paled. It hurt, something was clearly dripping down, and Su Qianxi immediately understood what was going on. Since the miscarriage, she had not had her period. Could it be? What a coincidence. However, it hurts so much. With a pale face, Su Qianxi slowly squatted down and put the computer in her hands on the ground. Cold sweat appeared on her forehead. At the dinner table, Li Xiqing was slowly eating the porridge she made herself, looking elegant and noble. A small bowl of millet porridge was quickly finished. However, just as he finished a bowl of porridge, Su Qianxi had not come over yet. Li Xiqing looked dissatisfied. Looking up, he found that the woman did not look very good. What's wrong? Li Xiqing saw that she was obviously not right, frowned, put down the bowl of porridge, and walked over. Nothing. Don't come over. Su Qianxi waved her hand, but the continuous pain made her feel uncomfortable. However, Li Xiqing had already squatted down and reached out to touch her forehead. It's so cold. Are you sick? Su Qianxi shook her head again and again. I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. Although she said that, she felt that she was about to collapse. She had to go back to the room to find something to cushion herself, but, seeing his slightly nervous and confused face, Su Qianxi breathed even more quickly. She did not look very good. Feeling a little embarrassed, she whispered, "Can you stay away for a while? I may have that." Li Xiqing was dazed for a second, but he quickly realized what she was talking about. There was a rare trace of embarrassment on his face. However, seeing her obviously not good face, he frowned. Does it hurt a lot? Let me help you. No, turn around. Don't look at me. Li Xiqing saw her shyness, stood up, and turned his back to her. Seeing his back, Su Qianxi let out a sigh of relief. Resisting the sharp pain in her lower abdomen, she stood up. However, before she stood up, she suddenly blacked out and fell to the side without warning. The sound of someone falling made him quickly look back. At a glance, he saw Su Qianxi, who had fainted on the ground and was shocked. He immediately squatted down and gently patted her face. Su Qianxi. So cold. Her body looked as if it was soaked in water. Cold sweat flowed continuously, and it was frighteningly cold. What the hell? Wasn't he here for that? Wasn't that normal for women? But why did she feel like she was about to die? Suddenly feeling empty, he immediately picked her up, strode out, and took her to the hospital. She was sent to the emergency department in the middle of the night, only to find out that she had fainted because she was on her period. The doctor on duty seemed a little impatient. Who are you to her? Husband. Husband. Is she still like this even though she's married? Li Xiqing was wearing casual home clothes, and his clothes and pants were stained with blood. Facing the doctor's question, he pursed his lips and said nothing. It was the first time for him to see a woman having that kind of thing. He had no experience at all. The doctor pursed his lips and said as he prescribed the medicine, in this case, it's either too much sex or too little sex. Young people should pay more attention. Alright, go home after the drip and pay the bill. Chapter 127. For more than a month, it was rare for Qingyu to get off the morning shift. She was going to take a shower and have a good sleep. However, with a call from her big boss, she had to go to the hospital to deliver clothes to the boss's wife. What a tough life. When she arrived, Li Xiqing was accompanying Su Qianxi to get in for drip. One was lying down pretending to be dead, and the other was sitting pretending to be cool. They were speechless, and the atmosphere was a bit cold. Qingyu blinked, seeing the subtle atmosphere, and awkwardly put the clothes on the side of Su Qianxi's bed. Li Xiqing glanced at a pack of tampons in the bag, pursed his lips, and stood up from the chair. Help her change. After saying that, he walked out. Qingyu looked at his back and suddenly felt a bit funny. In the middle of the night, her big boss was sent to the hospital by his wife and was covered in blood. If such news got out, she didn't know what people would write. However, the boss's wife was really lucky. Qingyu felt a little envious, but she still took out the clothes and said, I went to buy clothes in the middle of the night. Fortunately, I found a shop that was not closed. I just bought it casually. Just wear it. Thank you. It's so troublesome. Su Qianxi was a bit embarrassed and looked much better than before. He asked you to come so late at night. This guy is really, he did not care about her at all. It's okay. I'm used to it. Qingyu looked bitter and glanced at the foredrip. The water is out. I'll help you get changed. No, I'll do it myself. After changing clothes and walking out again, it was already 1:00 in the morning. Li Xiqing saw that her clothes were obviously a size bigger, and his lips were even more straight. He looked at Qingyu who followed him. Qingyu quickly waved her hand and looked wronged. I didn't know what size she wore, so I bought it according to my own size. Who knew she was so thin? Besides, he was the one who did not even tell her his wife's size. He was the one who was abnormal. Hearing that, Li Xiqing accepted this reason. With his hands in his pocket, he walked in front. Let's go. Although Su Qianxi was on the foredrip, her lower abdomen still hurt. Along the way, he walked faster with Qingyu's help. However, when she got home and got out of the car, she felt a bit weak. He bent his waist and took small steps forward. His face was so pale that it looked a little green. Walking behind her, Li Xiqing frowned and strode forward, reaching out and carrying her in his arms. Su Qianxi was shocked and exclaimed, wrapping her arms around his neck. Li Xiqing's body stiffened slightly. Looking down, he saw her obviously frightened eyes. Like a little deer that was being bullied. He strode back to his house. At the door, she became a bit naughty and struggled to get down. I can walk by myself. Open the door. Li Siqing ignored her and said. His voice was a bit low, and she clearly sensed his unhappiness. Consciously closing her mouth, she entered the password and opened the door. As soon as he entered the door, he carried her up to the second floor, sent her to her room, and put her on the bed. Finally lying down again, she felt comfortable and exhaled. Thank you for today. He glanced at her coldly and walked out, closing the door behind him. Damn it, he should have checked the almanac before coming back. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.